All right, E, we're live, dude. What's up?
Hey Murf, happy Sunday to you. Happy belated Valentine's Day, I should say.
Yeah, Valentine's Day was Friday. Did you do anything nice for the wife on Valentine's Day?
I actually made some nice steaks. I had the day off and had some stuff going on. Had to get tires for my car, but I did buy some filet mignons, and I had the cast iron steel pan that I've been using. And I wanted to make it really good, so I did 3 minutes each side. Then I took it, put it in the oven, cooked it for another 4 minutes in the oven, took it out, put it back on stovetop with a little butter and parsley in it. It was like steakhouse quality.
Now I know you shop at very few places, but where did you get this steak? Where does Edubbs get his steaks from?
Oh, only Adams. Yeah.
Adams.
They got the best butchers over there, and the old adage, Rich, you pay for what you get, I guess, right?
Yeah.
They were succulent, cut with a fork, basically. That's how good they were, and approved by Jody as well. So
nice. Yeah, we got the cast iron pan too.
She said restaurant quality, Rich. I'm not ready to work on a restaurant yet, but hey. Ever since I got this cast iron steel pan, it's been great. I've been cooking shrimp in it, chicken. It's really good. You don't wash it. Because once iron and water don't mix and stuff, so you can't really wash it or anything. But you just keep that flavor in it. Sometimes you season it with olive oil, put it back in the oven. But I become a cook in my old age, I guess, right? So
yeah. Like I said, maybe you and Jack, maybe like when we have our restaurant, maybe in your retirement days, you come in to become a cook in the back. Maybe Jack's line chef.
I could be the guy that
he's line cook.
I could be the guy that makes the ice for the drinks. But I just want to put this out there, Rich. I got this nice little gift. From my wife. Ben got one too at Costco. I don't know whose Costco membership's out there, but for $99, I get 2 main seats to a Yankee game in the main level, and I get a $30 $30 food voucher on top of that. So you're looking at 2 main seats and a voucher and food voucher. And Ben got one for the Mets at Citi Field, and those are 2 lower level seats and well as the $30 food voucher. So it's like money in the bank, basically.
Yeah, that's not a bad deal, man. We're members of Sam's Club. I mean, they probably have something similar to that. All those big, outlet stores, they pretty much try to compete with each other. So maybe a Sam Club or something like that. Because I plan on going to a lot of Met games this year.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to Arizona in. Just got the.
Oh, that's awesome.
My son's trying to call me, so I just put it on voicemail. Going to Arizona, we'll be there on Memorial Day, and I think Costco has Diamondbacks tickets, so I might take advantage of that as well. So
that is good. Where you going? Where else you going? But Arizona.
Actually, we're flying out to Denver, Rich. We're going to fly out to Denver. We're going to see the Yankees play the Rockies. So those were hard tickets to get. I had to put myself in a lottery, not to win the tickets, but win the right to buy tickets. And here's a funny story. Tickets went on sale like 12 o'clock our time a couple of Mondays ago. So I'm calling up. I went on Ticketmaster.com, and I'm in a waiting room. And all of a sudden, I get kicked out of the waiting room. I mean, it's not like getting Taylor Swift tickets, but I get kicked out of the waiting room and tried to get back in. It said I can't use my code anymore. So I decided to call the Rockies, and you're getting all lines are busy now. You can't get through. So finally, I got through. And a guy picks up the phone and says, you're buying Yankees tickets, right? I said, how'd you guess? He says, well, you have a New York area code, and all Yankee fans are calling because they can't get through. He goes, try again in an hour. And I got through on Ticketmaster. So I got 2 tickets. So we're going to see the Yankees and Rockies. Then we're going to drive to Phoenix. And one of my friends I went to high school with gave me the route of going through Utah. So we'll probably go through Utah to Phoenix, right through Arizona. Been to the Grand Canyon already, so that's Sedona. Been to, so just headed down to Phoenix and stuff. Spending a couple of days in Phoenix around Memorial Day. Get some good food, hang out in the nice weather. Hopefully, it'll be nice weather here by then. We'll talk about the weather in a minute, Rich.
Oh my
that's
God,
a great segue. But looking forward to getting back. I was in Denver, as a matter of fact, many years ago, and you being a Jets fan, I saw the Broncos and the Jets. And it was the last game that Altoon ever played. Altoon suffered a hit. I thought he died on the field that day. That was the last. Yeah. I don't know if
he got murdered. Altoon in his career, Eric, like you're talking about it. I loved Altoon. You just like every time I think about my favorite Jets, like I don't know why he leaves my mind sometimes. I always usually say Curtis Martin, but Altoon, when I was a kid, I used to get 88 jerseys every single year for my birthday. I loved Altoon. And when you talk about a guy that was getting the shit beat out of him on a daily basis, remember the spinning, for Miami Dolphins, getting hit really hard. I loved him and Wesley Walker were a good tandem. But I'm sorry, just you brought up Altoon brings up some pretty good, memories for me when I was a kid. I always had that 88 jersey because I loved watching him play.
Yeah, that was the last time I was in Denver, and that was the last game he ever played. he got laid out on the field. I thought he died, Rich. The hit he took, and being right there in the stadium watching that, it's a lot different perspective on TV, even though it was like a mile high. Literally, I was in the last row. You could tell the air is different up there. But yeah, it was pretty cool, Denver. I wanted to go Pikes Peak. It was icy, so I took a road ride up to Cheyenne, Wyoming, and I went to the saloon, the old saloons with the doors that open wide like you see in the movie. I went to one in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and had a nice steak. But I won't have any Rocky Mountain oysters. You know what Rocky Mountain oysters are?
Yeah, I know what Rocky Mountain oysters are.
They're not the oysters you get from the ocean. Let's put it that way and stuff. So
okay,
I'd rather get a good meatball in the city. Not a Rocky Mountain oyster.
No, did I tell you that I can't eat red meat no more?
Oh no, I didn't hear that. No.
I had blood work done recently. I've been feeling tired or whatever, so I'm just getting the normal stuff done. And I have something called, I forgot what it's called. It's called ADG1. It's very it's very rare, I guess. You get it from a tick bite. I have Lyme disease. I got bit by a tick, so I wound up I've been so tired because of the fact that I guess I got Lyme disease. But something else that they're starting to pick up recently.
I don't think you want to talk about Lyme disease right now, Rich, but that's for another show.
Well, yeah, I know.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
It winds out. You really got to watch out. These ticks are really coming bearing a lot of firepower now. They could transfer this disease. It's called something. I forgot what it's called. I wish I remember. But you have an allergy to red meat, and I've just been realizing over the last last 5 or 6 years, I have been I've been getting really sick after I have a good steak or a hamburger or a cheeseburger. Now, and I love to eat that stuff, and wound up that I just got blood work done, and I have a severe red meat allergy where I can't eat red meat anymore. I can't even eat pork.
Oh, wow. Now, I remember years ago, we go back and forth. You said you eat it well done. You never ate it rare. So is it because of the way you cooked it or just because it's red meat is red meat? All
right, listen, I got to be honest with you. The last 4 or 5, 6 years with you has been a joke, pretty much, because I do like it. I like it well done. But I used to like to break your chops because, you like your steak. And that was kind of like, I'm going to break your chops a little bit. But in actuality, I've eaten my steaks more of the, more of medium, medium well, medium. But it's just, it doesn't matter really how it's cooked. Even burgers too, dude. I love a good burger. I love a good bacon cheeseburger. But even after that, it just, my stomach can't handle it. And it's all because of this fucking, I just said I wouldn't curse. It's all because of these, all because of these ticks. And these ticks, my doctor was telling me that, ticks used to just transfer Lyme disease, but they're transferring more and more shit now. You could get really, really sick from just a simple tick bite these days.
You think it was from doing the lawn or something like that, Rich, or in the pool?
Eric, I am always outside. You know me. I cannot sit still for 5 minutes. So even when it's nice weather, I'm always outside. And just, just because you think you get tick bites, from mowing the lawn and stuff, you could get them all year round. Yep. Ticks are always out there, so I'm always out there in the yard doing something. I'm always either mowing the lawn or I'm out there shoveling, whatever. I'm always outside. So I must have gotten bit somewhere along the way, and
It's around in the winter time, Rich. They're around in the winter as well, or no?
Well, they don't. They're more dormant, I would assume, because it's very cold. But they do survive in the cold weather. They don't die off. They don't die off in the winter. I guess they hibernate. I don't know much about it, but they are around. Like even into the you mostly get bit by ticks mostly in the latter days of fall. Think about it.
Oh wow, when you're doing the leaves and stuff, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Well, two things I've never done in my life. I never had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I never mowed a lawn, so I wouldn't know. I can try to stay away. I like standing on the concrete jungle of the city, basically the sidewalks and stuff.
Hold on, I just clicked on this TikTok live thing. I'm gonna go on TikTok live and click. Listen, guys, we're on Keep Talking 365 at YouTube. If you want to come check us out live, I'm gonna keep the TikTok live thing, and I'm not gonna interact too much, but it's really just a ploy to get you guys to go to my YouTube channel. So if you want to come check us out live, go check us out at Keep Talking 365 at YouTube. It's me and Edubbs chopping it up about sports. All righty.
So Rich, yesterday, I go to Starbucks yesterday, and right outside of Starbucks, there's a like a sewer cleaner guy, cleaning the sewers and stuff. And I'm wondering, like, what am I getting in my cup of coffee? I get it black, so am I getting their real water and coffee, or am I getting the water that the guys are flushing outside? And you walk into Starbucks and you get that smell, Rich, of sewerage. I mean, can't they do this like in the middle of the night, or when? I guess Starbucks opens early, so you can't really, But how about the middle of the night? You do that, guys? Come on now, really? One gripe I have.
Wait, hold on a second. I'm so sorry. Yeah, when you go on TikTok, dude, people are crazy. He goes, "Ayo, Murf, my girl left me, so I took away her wheelchair. Guess who came crawling back?" Sorry, dude. That was funny, man. Really, that was funny. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I gotta turn this off. No, again, I was listening to you, but I just caught that out of the corner of my eye.
Yeah, no, I just have my complaint about Starbucks yesterday. You're cleaning out the sewers.
Yeah, dude.
Midday too, you know?
Yeah, I thought you
look like getting that septic smell when you walk into Starbucks, you know? So, but
yeah,
you know.
What's somebody? What about? I thought you liked Dunkin' Donuts.
My wife likes Starbucks, so I get her a drink. So rather than going to a million places and stuff, so you know.
Do you feel Starbucks is a lot stronger?
I do. As a matter of fact, on Monday after the Super Bowl, Starbucks was giving away the free coffee, so I did stop and get my free coffee. And I don't understand the psychology of it, Rich. Like you go to bed 10:30 at night on a Sunday, okay, you're fine. But you go to bed 10:30 at night after the Super Bowl, you wake. It's hard to wake up Monday morning. I don't get it.
Yeah, and you know what? That's like we're gonna get into some NFL stuff in a little while, but I think you obviously know what they're trying to do with all this. Trying to push it at least one more week so they can get that Monday as being like that kind of that national holiday, so everybody has off the next day. Now, listen, that's when you think about it, like people, whether you drink, whatever you're doing, it's you don't want to get up the next day because you're up late, you're eating a bunch of shitty food all day. But that is what they're trying to push. They're trying to push so everybody's got the day off the next day, So no, like you said, nobody wants to go into work the next day after Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, I'm not looking to go to work tomorrow. I have the day off tomorrow. Thank you, President's Day. There was some President's Day trivia I heard too. Why is President's Day celebrated in February? It's because Lincoln and Washington's birthdays were in February, basically. And they never met. Abraham Lincoln never met Washington. Washington was dead, I guess, before.
Yeah.
But yeah, so everyone thinks Lincoln was the 16th president. People don't realize that, and Washington first, of course. But yeah, always nice having a holiday. But I'd rather have my day off in the summertime, Rich, because it's just brutal out there. I mean, the weather yesterday. I gave my report on the weather and stuff, and kind of like hit the nail on the head. We didn't get as much snow as I thought yesterday, but you know what it is? It's ice, and nothing stops on ice, Rich, as you know, the freezing rain and stuff like that. Freezing rain is different than sleet. Freezing rain, what happens, it drops from the sky, and when it hits the ground, then it freezes. So the freezing rain is a dangerous one. Sleet, hail, I mean, you can get away with that, but freezing rain is the danger that you don't want to.
Let's like before we get into sports about this. Like I've been telling people yesterday, it's like, and it's weird. I'm not even joking with you. We joke about stuff like you have your little weird stuff, but for some reason you're always spot on with the weather, dude. And I'm not even making a joke about it. Like you can go look at any of these meteorologists, any local guys, whatever you want. But for some reason, you always hit the nail on the head. Like, you say all this stuff on your Facebook page on on Real Edubbs. Or what's your Facebook page? I just click on it. Was it?
Oh, just my name on Facebook. Yeah.
You guys are local. If you guys want to know the weather, I'm not even kidding around. Eric is always spot on with the weather. So he does all that stuff on Facebook. If you guys want to check it out, it's eerily spot on.
Yeah. So Rich, it's always a hobby of mine and stuff. And a lot of people out there, they base their weather on like AM country music stations. Now, the AM country music stations, I'm not saying don't listen to them because you might like the music. I'm not a country fan, but I wouldn't listen to the weather there. People pick up the New York Post Daily News. They read the weather. I mean, the paper was printed hours ago and you're reading the weather. So that's a no-no too. The local ABC, NBC, CBS, they're good with the weather. I usually stick to a couple of websites, Rich, and the most important one is the government, the National Weather Service. The National Weather Service has the best models out there. They use the GFS model. Okay, so if you watch TV, you'll see the GFS and the Euro model. The Euro model is not this girl coming out in a bikini from Europe. Okay, the Euro model basically there's two models: the GFS and the Euro. The GFS is the American model, basically worked by the National Weather Service solely for America. The Euro model is the European model, which is basically worldwide weather, basically. So if you see on the news, they usually have two reports. Oh, we're going to get an inch from the Euro or 10 inches from the GFS. So that's one thing you got to go by. Another thing I want to put out there, Rich, is the American Red Cross. The American Red Cross has an emergency app you can get on your phone for free, everybody. And it gives you all the details of warnings, hazards, earthquakes, volcanoes, not in this area, but you never know. But, it gives you everything basically you need. and it will pop up on your phone. Even if your phone's on Do Not Disturb, you'll hear like an alert or something like that. As a matter of fact, today we're having a wind advisory, not a wind warning, a wind advisory. So we pushed the weather out from yesterday. We had I'd say about 2 inches of snow with a glaze of ice on top of it. And yesterday I put something out, Rich. If you're going to be lazy or procrastinating, you want to. This isn't the storm for you. You wanted to get that first layer up last night, which I did around 8 o'clock. Got that first layer up, threw some salt down, and then let Mother Nature take whatever she did overnight period. It looked like there was some ice and stuff. The next thing I did was I bought a windshield wipe, a windshield cover for my car, which I put on Facebook. A couple of people already bought them and stuff. Just took it off my car today, and the windshield was fine. We know there's problems with the windshield, but I'm going off talking about the weather. The wind advisory for today. Okay, so listen, if you guys have
listen up, guys. This is it. Listen up.
Want to hear? If you guys have shovels outside, your Christmas decorations already still outside. It's what, the 45th day of Christmas already, Rich? You guys have shovels, anything that's not tied down outside. You want to bring it in now or wait till after the podcast to bring it in? Don't go yet, but that's what you might make your main objective today.
I hear you.
A couple of weeks ago, I saw a flower pot on my driveway, Rich.
Right
in the garbage. It wasn't mine, but if anything winds up in my driveway, it goes right in the garbage because I'm not the lazy guy who didn't tie the stuff down, basically, So anything that falls in my driveway goes in the garbage. And then, so we're going to have like up to 60-mile-an-hour winds, Rich. Not going to happen all the time, but we could sustain gusts up to 60 mile an hour tonight into tomorrow. Right. Now, the bad thing is we got the polar vortex
That's
coming
next,
down
Jeff.
from Canada.
I'm listening.
Yeah, polar vortex coming down from Canada. Canada tries to give us gifts all the time. We don't accept the gifts from Canada. Polar vortex is not one gift you want to accept from Canada. So this is going to go all the way. You see a bell curve all the way down the United States. You see this polar vortex. So what's in store for us? Anything you didn't shovel today is going to freeze overnight. I know it's going to rain later, but anything you didn't shovel is going to freeze overnight. If you didn't get the snow off your car, ice off your car, which is illegal in New Jersey, you will get a ticket in New Jersey. I don't know about the rules in New York. Come on, governor, make a rule of it. But I see cars driving around with snow on them all the time. And it's pure laziness. There's no reason why 4 days after a snowstorm, you still have to have snow on your car. Okay?
It's annoying. It's annoying. You know what? I was out there. I shoveled everything last night. I was out there around 11 o'clock shoveling. And then
exactly. So it's funny, Rich, because there wasn't really any good sports on last night. So I was watching a rom-com movie with the wife last night. It was a pretty good movie. After I shoveled, I came and watched the movie. It was a pretty good movie about these the guy and his woman. They return to the office. They work on different days, but whatever. It was a free-flowing movie, something to watch. No sports.
What's the name of it? What was the name of it?
It was called Return to the Office.
Okay, now listen. It was a rom-com. What happened at the end? Did they get back together? Did they love each other? Did they break up? So what happened at the end?
Here's what happened, Rich, in the rom-com. So the boss, he was a micromanager, CEO. Yeah, he tells the employees to come back to the office. Problem is the office isn't big enough to accommodate employees. So some employees have to work Monday and Wednesday. Other employees have to work Tuesday and Thursday, and they all work at home on Friday. So there was a woman, she worked on Monday, and she left a note to this guy on Tuesday. He came in Tuesday. He wrote a note to her. So the notes are going back and forth. They never met each other, but they know who each other are, basically. Right. And there's some twists and stuff, I guess the guy's mother is in a nursing home where the woman who works on Monday and Wednesday does crochet. She teaches there. So the mother knew that they were going to get together, but it was just like, you got to watch it, Rich. It's 2 hours, but at the end they kiss, but at the end they both quit the job. Now here's what I don't understand, Rich. Here's what Hollywood plays in. So they both quit the job in corporate America at the end. Right. And then they find out that they're dating each other and they kiss and then they decide to start a new business. So would you start a new business, Rich, with somebody who you met on a date for one day and you're starting a new business already? You have no income coming in, right?
Oh, terrible. What a terrible premise. Not a realistic movie at all, right?
No,
you know what I watched? I won't go.
It was realistic up to that point, Rich.
Like I won't go into the premise of me and my wife watched the rom-com the other night, but not a big fan of Amy Schumer, but I watched Kind of Pregnant the other night. Dude, it's very fun. I suggest you watch. It's kind of funny.
Did you watch the Kansas City Chiefs movie? Did you watch that one on Hallmark?
No,
yeah, I watched that one.
See, and no, you know what? We're gonna start talking sports in a second. It's like, why do all these football players have all their their documentaries and this is on the NFL channel on this, but Travis Kelce has his on the Hallmark channel? What's going on?
No, it wasn't about Kelce though. It wasn't about Kelce one bit.
What's it about?
I'll get into that, Rich. But we're still talking weather here. I know we go off tangents and stuff like that, but
right.
We're still talking weather. So it's going to be really cold this week.
All right,
we're looking at some. We're looking at some for Thursday, Rich.
Okay.
Don't quite know what it is yet. I put on yesterday. This was from the National Weather Service. We're going to get 20 inches of snow.
All right. Hey,
snow.
Listen, Edubbs says 20 inches of snow in Dutchess County. Keep an eye on it and check back to his Facebook page in the middle of the week, because I guarantee whatever snow we get, it's going to be the exact total. So Thursday, that's going to be the bad one.
I'm out, Rich. You're jumping the gun. You're jumping the gun. But when I look today, significant less than 20 inches. So,
all right.
And it's all depend on these models that I talked about, the GFS and the Euro models. They said it might be a southern storm staying to the south, and I could deal with that, Rich, if the storm stays to the south, right? Yeah. Because like you know what?
Yeah.
If it snows 20 inches, I ain't shoveling. You bet.
I'll be out there all night shoveling. I'm still a glutton for punishment. I have a snowblower, but it's like I like getting out there and just like shovel layers. I think that's bad. I don't know. That's just me.
I have green pieces of paper in my wallet, so I will gladly pay somebody to do my driveway. But let's take a look seriously, though, Rich, about these nor'easters. So I'm going to go back to these models, the GFS and the Euro. Computers do this, Rich. It's not humans. And in 1888, Rich, right around March, New York City, it's very, very tranquil. People are looking to spring. And what happens in the middle of the month? There's a nor'easter that comes up the coast, basically. Okay. And what happened is it basically caught New York City with their pants down from March 11th to March 14th, 1888. The storm happened at the evening of the 11th. Heavy snow and violent winds. And then New York City got buried under snow. There were drifts of snow up to 40, 50 feet high, Rich, that day.
Right.
Literally, at least 600 people died in New York. There were ships on the ocean. People, they didn't survive it, of course. And then people coming home from work in the city, they were just buried in 40 feet of snow. Actually, the L trains, the subways, the snow hit the L trains, basically, some of these drifts and stuff like that. That's how bad it was. And it led to the introduction of underground subways, Rich. People were saying, hey, we got to go underground now, basically. So that was 1888. We're talking about 140 years ago. But after this storm, it took a toll on human life and stuff. They felt like, we got to get on top of these weather things. We got to forecast. Of course, they didn't have the technology they had back then in 140 years ago. But this is where we are today, Rich, with these models that are set up, and they're pretty precise. But like I said, 20 inches yesterday, 6 inches today, basically forecast. So Mother Nature can change on a dime, and it's all because of the jet stream. The jet stream is like the steering wheel of what brings, the snow or the weather patterns across the country, basically. So you can consider that. But, nor'easters, what is a nor'easter? Nor'easter only affects the East Coast. You have your earthquakes in California, your blizzards in the Midwest, your tropical storms in the South, and then we get blessed with the nor'easters. Nor'easters usually snow, but, September, they can be rain. And what does it bring? Northeasterly winds, heavy precipitation, coastal flooding and erosion, and the cold air mass. So right now we're getting the cold air mass. So we're just waiting for the, where this storm's going to come. Is it going to stay to our south, come to the north, come up the coast? If it comes up the coast, hugs the coast, Long Island's in trouble, Rich. So all your friends and family
Long Island's always in trouble because they're Long Island. Long Island's always in trouble.
Even Atlantic City, Jersey Shore.
Whatever. Long Island sucks.
I hate Long Island. But, Jersey Shore and Long Island, if it stays out to sea, though, Rich, that's the best scenario. If it stays out to sea, then we get nothing. So,
all right.
What I'm going to forecast
seems like we're going to have a lot of weather coming up. Nor'easters, but you know what, though? In a couple of years, I'm hoping to be looking at a southeaster because I don't want to be in the northeast anymore. I want to be in the southeast in the next couple of years.
Your southeast.
I'm tired of this shit.
Southeast are hurricanes, but reality, Rich. I want everyone to go out on their phones. There's an emergency app put out there by the American Red Cross. It gives all the weather alerts. It's free. I said, it pop-ups on my phone whenever there's an issue going on and stuff like that. So something good to have because, sometimes if you're driving, Rich, too, you don't want to be caught in a storm or anything, if you're driving with bad weather and stuff, you want to plan ahead, and, there's unnecessary travel. I mean, I know we like to have birthday parties, family gatherings around this time of year. I mean, don't get pissed off if somebody can't make your gathering. I mean, you're scheduling something this time of year, you got to expect the worst. I mean, my birthday's in August. I don't want to brag or anything, but never any snow on my birthday. So,
if anybody knows Edubbs, he starts celebrating his birthday now. This is when he usually starts celebrating his birthday.
My birthday was last week. My half birthday was this month, so I wanted to celebrate my half birthday.
And you know what? You know what today is? Today is mine and your unbirthday. If you ever seen Alice in Wonderland, yo, listen. I got to ask you a question. Like I said, I know we started off. We were going to start off with a certain spot, but I gotta get to something real quick that I know me and you aren't two big hockey fans, and that's winter. I know winter related, right?
Yep.
What do you think yesterday? Okay, now I'm going to touch briefly in a political point just to make a sports point. That's it. Okay. Last night's game, the USA against Canada. I think a lot of people were watching that game last night. Okay. Obviously, there's a lot of friction lately between the United States and Canada. But what was it? 4 fights broke out in the first 9 seconds. The Kachuk brothers were beating people up on the ice. The drop of the puck, they booed the national anthem. I mean, you're talking about a sport right now that a bunch of tough guys play. Now, listen, tough guys play other sports too, but for the most part, these guys are under physical duress all game. All game, they got somebody tailing them, kicking them, punching them, yelling at them, talking junk. Like football, right? You could talk junk to the offensive and defensive linemen all day long, but nobody's dropping the gloves and beating the shit out of each other in the middle of a football game. You're dealing with hockey players who are tough guys, right? And who take shit to heart. And however you feel, because we live on these coastal parts of the United States of America, we're not California, but we're New York. A lot of people here think differently. But there's a huge portion of this country that loves the United States of America, and anything done to disrespect the flag or the American people is a punch in the eye to the United States of America. And I think last night's game between the Canadian team and the United States team, United States won 3-1 last night. I think you're going to see a lot more of that little chippiness, even pulling on it to the NHL. And I think I think the NHL, probably the way they feel about it, if I was a businessman, it's like, all right, it's probably going to put more eyes on it now. But I would watch this, because you're not just dealing with somebody who slept with somebody's wife or girlfriend, or somebody said something on Facebook, or somebody said something online about them that they're not tough. You're talking about a lot of people that have country pride. You're talking about pride from Russian players. You're talking about pride from Canadian players, and super duper pride from American players. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm going to peek in a little more on the NHL now just to see the little chippiness. But I think this kind of chippiness could get dangerous for the NHL. What do you think about that, E?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, Rich, a lot of these guys are teammates on their regular teams during the season. I mean, this is like a tournament: U.S., Canada, Finland, Sweden. I think it's a four-team tournament. They shut down the league for like 2 weeks, whatever. But it's weird in a way, because there is a Canadian presence. There's 6 teams, whereas the other sports, NFL has none, baseball has one, and basketball has one. So not the chippiness in those other sports and stuff. But yeah, it's crazy. And I just want to bring something out. Whenever I go to a sporting event, they say, please stand up. If you can, basically, I know there's people who can't stand up in wheelchairs and stuff, but I get really annoyed, Rich. Whenever this happens, I stand up, I face the flag. People are like, I hear people in the background, why is he turning and stuff? Like, if I'm sitting in left field, I'll turn myself like this and I'll stand like that. They think I'm looking at, you're supposed to face the flag, put the hand over the heart. But I see people sitting in the seats still that can get up. I see people on their phones and stuff. I just think I just think it's an injustice. I went to the Nets game last Friday night. 2 guys from Israel. They stand up. They don't have to put the hand. They're not from there, but they understood. I was singing the national anthem, and that's what I do. That's what I do. And when I went to Canada, I stood up for the national anthem, Canadian national anthem. But once the American came on, I put my hand over my heart. That's what we do, Rich. So so I don't know. There's a lot of political chippiness going on out there. Probably you could put that on another show. But yeah, I don't know. I just saw the highlights from last night. I didn't watch the game. I was watching rom-com, but I did see a couple of fights break out in the first couple of minutes of the game. A lot of chippiness between the U.S. and Canadian teams, huh?
I mean, Eric, they dropped gloves the minute the puck dropped. Within 9 seconds of the game, there was 4 all-out brawls. And these 2 guys, the Kachuk brothers, and again, I wish I knew more about hockey, because it's such a great sport, but it's too much for the brain to follow as far as the players. But from what I understand, this guy, they dropped the puck, Kachuk's and the other guy beating the shit out of each other. And then 4 seconds later, his brother's on the ice beating the shit out of somebody else. And then there's all-out brawls, because it's right now you're dealing with something that's not like, again, you're not dealing with social media bullshit. You're not dealing with baby bullshit. You're dealing with stuff that people have American pride. Like I got super duper pride for my country. I don't want nobody talking shit. And if there's and Canadians obviously have pride for their country and so on and so forth. So you're not dealing with something you're dealing with something that's personal to a lot of people, because the way I look at it is why I get so mad at people when, like they disrespect the American flag, or if you're in America and you disrespect the country of America, and why you tell people just to leave, which is what somebody told me the other day, that he's packing up his stuff and he's moving, which is fine. Go. America doesn't need people that are just going to put their tail between their legs and just leave. But I think at the end of the day, if you're a true American, whether you feel the way about the president or not, whether you're a true American, you still have to have some sort of American pride, and you still have to have some American, I'm happy to be here, because if not, just then America's not going to survive, because we could be the strongest nation in the entire world, but if our people aren't behind us, we're only as strong as our people. So the fact that people say they're going to leave, how about the people get together and let's just say this is American pride. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, whatever you are, but if you're American, the American flag is a symbol of American people. And at the end of the day, it is what it is. People don't like us. And when we start spouting out for the mouth about stuff, which may be true, people just don't want to hear it. But at the end of the day, this is going to get bad, I think, because you're dealing with American pride right now. You're not just dealing with somebody said something about my friend. Somebody said something about my country. So that I think that holds a lot more water with the American people than just some kind of it hurt my feelings.
Also, Rich, there's different attitudes though. The game was played in Quebec last night in Montreal. So you take that section, the Quebec section, and then you take the Ontario outward to Saskatchewan, Edmonton, Vancouver. It's totally different, Rich. I noticed when I went to Montreal, we went to an Expos game. I'm dating myself about before Ben was born, actually. I said I had to get to Montreal because, I like to do my stadium thing. So I got there. Jody asked the woman for directions. There was no GPS back then, and the woman just turned her back on her. So I think the Quebec section is different. If the game was played in Toronto, I think it'd be much, probably like a different beginning to the game. Maybe that's my opinion.
Could you imagine what's going to happen? Say this does start to get really bad. Can you imagine what's going to happen? When the Montreal Canadiens show up to Madison Square Garden against the Rangers, or even worse, Philadelphia, you know what I mean? Or the Bruins, when you got some hardcore people there that are yo, man, what are you doing talking shit about our country?
The funny part is you got Americans that play on the Montreal Canadiens, and vice versa. You have Canadians that play on the Rangers. So, that's hockey for you, I guess, right?
Yeah. I just think, I think we got to keep an eye on that. And get a little crazy with my political views, but that's something I think America needs to keep an eye on, because you're not dealing with some little pansy ass, you're dealing with a full league of tough dudes, and a lot of them are not happy.
Yeah. But America, I guess they're going to win this cup. I think they're probably the favorites now to win it. They had some.
Canada's probably going to come back, and they may be playing Canada for the cup, but I don't know. I just think it's a different animal. When you're playing for American pride, even with the basketball teams, you see them too. Even they kick it up a notch when it comes to those championship games or whatever. I guess when you're playing for pride for your country, I mean, I think it's a little different than playing for pride for for the NBA, or playing pride for yourself. With the points and, with the NHL and even the World Baseball Classic, people, they played hard, man. Japanese really wanted to beat the United States. And that stage was so set up for Ohtani against Trout. And it was just the stage was set and Japan won, and I think that a lot of people were upset about that, because it's just pride. You know what I mean? It's not they were upset. They lost the game. Baseball's supposed to be an American sport where everybody comes to play, and look at Japan. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's going to get worse before it gets better. I think you might maybe start seeing it in other sports, but not too much baseball, because I don't think, Canada doesn't really have too much of an effect. Some of these countries out there, Russia and places that we do have kind of beef with, they really, don't have too much effect on baseball or football. But when you're looking at, when you're looking at basketball and hockey, I think you might see some, national pride chippiness on the court and on the ice. So. That's just the point I was trying to make with all that. It was pretty polarizing last night to see that on the ice. So even though we all like it as hockey fans, or hockey fans love it, I think a lot of hockey fans wouldn't watch hockey if it wasn't for a lot of the brutalness. But I think last night was on display for the whole world to watch that, people are pissed.
So we'll see it tonight, Rich. The NBA All-Star games tonight, or whatever they're doing. I think they're playing 3 mini games or something, but they will be doing the Canadian national anthem before those games and stuff like that. And will be interesting when the Blue Jays play the Mets this year. I don't know if they're playing at Citi Field, but of course, when they come to Yankee Stadium, it'll be interesting to see what happens this year when they play.
Maybe it'll be in August or something when Vlad Guerrero's playing first base and Pete Alonso's the DH. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh my God.
We'll get to that later. But you know what, though? We had a huge Super Bowl last week, didn't we?
Was it a huge Super Bowl, Rich, or a huge dud?
No. I got to tell you first, I know we have a lot to discuss about the Super Bowl. I did a Super Bowl show last week where I said a lot, but me and you discussing it, I think is a lot better because we could bounce different situations off each other. I can tell you right now, and you know how I feel about football and you feel about football. It's second to baseball, but we still love the NFL, right? Am I right or wrong? Yeah, we love baseball, but we do still love the NFL. I have never in my 40 some odd years, I watched my first Super Bowl in 1980. Okay. I remember 1979. I watched my first Super Bowl. Okay. I've never in my life, even as a 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old boy, went to bed in the third quarter. Well, I didn't even make the third quarter. I went to bed during the stupid halftime show. So
wow.
That goes to show what I thought about the Super Bowl. Not that it was, I just think that there was no pomp and circumstance. I'm happy that the Chiefs were knocked off their pedestal. That's one thing. And I'm happy for Saquon, but I just think there was no, in the years and years and years leading up to the Super Bowl, I've never felt less like there was a Super Bowl coming up.
Well, I guess one thing we learned from the Super Bowl, Rich, is that you can't call Pat Mahomes the GOAT anymore. I think Brady's the ultimate GOAT, basically.
All right. Okay. We can definitely talk about that. Okay. That's okay. Go ahead.
And you got to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles defense kind of did like what the Buccaneers defense did to Pat Mahomes 3 years ago, basically. So, they held him in check. Mahomes had the 3 garbage touchdowns. I don't really call them touchdowns. It might as well just be a shutout, Rich, because the defense, they went into halftime with such a big lead. What do you have to, play that defense? They were on cruise control, Rich. Saquon Barkley didn't have the game that we all thought.
No.
The Eagles just got the job done, and Mahomes was making the stupid mistakes, the interceptions and stuff. So I think Las Vegas made out the best because the money was on the Chiefs. The over-under was on the under. Then you had Saquon Barkley, people betting like crazy he's going to get over 100 yards and score a touchdown easily, and he didn't manage both. But kind of a weird flowing Super Bowl the way it happened. And I'm happy because you have these three-peats are difficult, Rich, and the last three-peat was the Yankees, of course, which could have been a four-peat easily. But
absolutely. Yeah.
But whatchamacallit? I just thought it was, it wasn't the best Super Bowl, wasn't the worst Super Bowl. It was a mess Super Bowl. And we've seen those blowouts before, Rich. We saw like the 49ers and the Chargers was a blowout. Washington played in some blowouts. I mean, we saw a couple of years where teams were didn't Buffalo get blown out too by Dallas, I think? So we've seen the blowouts, and this is considered a blowout, Rich, because, Kansas City never showed up. And I don't know if it's a whole Travis Kelce thing or not. Kelce was supposed to have this great game. And what did he have? Like 2 catches?
That's something.
The funny thing is, the only Chief that didn't make the field, he only made the field one time was Harrison Butker. He didn't even try for a field goal or extra point, right? Crazy.
I think that two things I want to unpack from what you said before, the Brady and the Mahomes comparison. But the one comparison, and I'm hearing a lot, and normally I'm not a big fan of like when they say like, maybe Mahomes was just tired. And, I'm like, oh, he's an NFL player. He's a football player. And for the first time in my life, like you watch that team play, I think Mahomes was just tired. I really do, because Brady did the same thing. Like, there is a comparison there, and there still is a comparison. That comparison is going to go on for a long time. And, and listen, I love Brady saying what he says. Brady liked the fact Brady's still saying, look, he didn't say it because he doesn't say it, but he kind of had like maybe a little on his brain there because of the fact, like, maybe if Mahomes does win this Super Bowl, it's a three-peat, and now people aren't talking about Brady. But I think Brady's a little more humble than that to think that he is the greatest, even though I think he is. But you just touched on something about Mahomes being out of the GOAT debate. But I was listening. I thought that too until I heard somebody say something the other day on the radio that made a lot of points. It made a very good point. If you look up their careers right now, Mahomes and Brady, it's like they're in the same spot right now. As a matter of fact, Mahomes is past him right now. If you look at their careers at the same point in Mahomes has been to 5 Super Bowls, dude, in the first 7 years of his career. And the first year doesn't even really count because it was like kind of like a half a year or whatever. So Mahomes still is right on par because, listen, Brady, we all know it. There's no debate. Like, you could go back and, up until this point, like, I even talk about these stupid kids here, Dylan Dempsey, talking to me about, LeBron being the greatest. Look at the stats. I think we have to kind of like take stats and put them in a little bit of a microcosm of a category because a lot of other stuff goes into these GOAT debates too. It's like Brady just coming in and have ice water in his veins and saying, I'm going to win the football game definitely counts in my eyes to be the greatest of all time. And I think Mahomes has that in him too. I think Mahomes has it in him to say, I'm going in to win this football game. There's a lot of people in there that say they're going to, but I think that there's certain people that actually know they're going to win the Super Bowl. Even if they lose, or even if they lose that big game, they have that mindset that nobody in the world is going to beat me. And I think that there's still an ongoing comparison. So you can't really take that comparison right now and say it's over, because I think that this comparison is just beginning. Because Andy Reid going to be around for a little while longer. Let's just say Tom Brady is not going anywhere as far as broadcasting, which he does a pretty good job. So I think this debate's going to get longer and longer, because you also could say the same thing about this Chiefs team, because Brady had Belichick, right? Okay. Brady and Belichick, that combination was beautiful. They won Super Bowls. Mahomes has Andy Reid. So if you want to talk about a similar conversation over the years about a coach and a quarterback winning Super Bowls and games together, that's as close as you're going to get to Brady and Belichick when it comes to Mahomes and Andy Reid. So I think it's going to be an ongoing debate. I mean, I don't know how you feel, if I've changed your mind at all, but I think that it's going to be an ongoing debate. As I can also think about it too. Brady, think about this. Brady can say he's the greatest of all time, but Eli Manning is not in the Hall of Fame, but Eli Manning beat the greatest of all time. So that's why he should be in the Hall of Fame. Go to a B part of that conversation. Pat Mahomes loses 2 Super Bowls. Who did he lose his Super Bowls to? Tom Brady. So it's like kind of like it's an ongoing debate of GOAT, GOAT, GOAT. But now you got a situation now where he's a young kid and they're pretty much, he's ahead of him by a little bit, but he's got so much further to go in his career because the kid's an amazing athlete. He's the best athlete in football right now. You could say it's Lamar Jackson, but I think Pat Mahomes is still, some of the stuff he does is the best athlete in the game right now. And it's just going to get further and further in this debate. And I think at the end of the day, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's all a matter of opinion, all a matter of perspective. But still, in my eyes, Tom Brady's the GOAT. Plus, he's wearing a $780,000 watch while he's calling the game with Kevin Burkhardt, who used to sit in Citi Field / Shea Stadium and interview drunk people about the Mets. Now he's doing the Super Bowl with Tom Brady.
And, just to take it back, Rich, I heard Gary Cohen, he did the Seton Hall game. He's a Seton Hall announcer, and Seton Hall won a big game yesterday over UConn. It was a buzzer beater. So seeing Gary Cohen in Seton Hall, it's kind of weird. But you take it one step back, Rich. So I think the window is slowly closing on Kansas City, because Kansas City, they're probably Kelce is 35, 36. I mean, he's pretty
37,
much done.
37.
Yeah. But then all you have, Rich, are you have these receivers that were great in their prime, but these receivers are, this guy Xavier Worthy, he might be the real deal, but you got these receivers. He's not. There's too many guys, too many mouths to feed out there. They had Tyreek Hill, they lost him. If Tyreek Hill was still there, I think they beat the Eagles. But Mahomes. Something about Mahomes and the pass rush. He doesn't handle the pass rush well. The Eagles had a great defensive plan, flushing him out of the pocket.
Your team did it to him.
Exactly.
Beat the shit out of him.
Exactly. Yeah. He put up some stupid passes too, the interceptions he did, So it's hard to tell. It seemed like with Brady, the band was back together every year. But, you see some regression now. Even with the running game too, you got Hunt. I mean, Pacheco, are they number one running backs? Pacheco really didn't do that much this year, Rich. I know he was.
That's also kind of a good. That's also a pretty good parallel to the early Brady career too, because I mean, look, Pat Mahomes has Travis Kelce. I know Brady had, the murderer, Aaron Hernandez, and Rob Gronkowski. But in the beginning of their careers, like, you couldn't name a wide receiver on Tom Brady's wide receiver core. And he's winning games. He's kind of like doing what's going on with Mahomes. Like, there's no real backfield. You have good wide receivers, but I think that they were more of a product of the quarterback being good. And I think right now Mahomes is in that same category. So who knows? Maybe Mahomes does get, along the way, maybe, eventually Brady got Randy Moss and like players like that. You know what I mean? So maybe they are going to do that for Mahomes. But I think at this point in time, there's really a debate to watch about who's going to be the greatest because it's just beginning.
Yeah, don't forget, Rich, Juju Smith-Schuster, DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown. I mean, these guys are past their prime, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, Hopkins is what? Hopkins probably in his 30s, right? Hollywood Brown, he was catching balls from Lamar Jackson. Why didn't they keep him, the Ravens? And then Juju Smith-Schuster has been around forever, it seems. But, you know, those are the types of receivers. I mean, he really couldn't distribute them in the Super Bowl. The Eagles, it was a total smackdown, Rich, by the Eagles defense.
And everybody always, it was, everybody was holding on to the fact that maybe it was still going to be a good Super Bowl. I mean, I went to bed, but how many people out there stayed up till the end of the game, even if you're not a Chiefs fan, just saying, you know what? There's something about Pat Mahomes that makes me think that he might come back. But that Philadelphia defense was playing so on such a high level on Sunday that I don't think any team could have kept up with the fact that they were just making play after play. The defensive line was getting in and chasing him down, Mahomes. And when Mahomes was trying to get out of the pocket, the linebackers were there just to smash him. Like he couldn't do that kind of like Mahomes, like, slick plays, like, his little shoot, I'm a shortstop kind of like throws. And, and Kelce, I think, and again, I think Kelce is under a tremendous, tremendous amount of pressure. And I am not making any excuses for the guy. As a matter of fact, I think he's under a tremendous amount of pressure because he's a guy who really cares about what people think. And I think he's being spoken about, obviously, being, Taylor Swift. Right at this point, he's Taylor Swift's boyfriend. You know what I mean? It's like, and I went on a rant last week. I'm not going to talk about Taylor Swift going to the games. I went on a rant last week about how, it may be good for the sport end on the money end, but I don't think it for the fandom end. I don't think it's good because no one wants people there just for a half hour just to maybe get a glimpse of Taylor Swift. But I think Travis Kelce's coming to a point in his life where I think he's being told he's a certain way and he's being told that he feels and thinks a certain way, but I don't think he thinks like that. And I think that he has to go along for the ride because right now he's the guy, he's Taylor Swift's boyfriend. He's about to retire, but he's got a huge podcast and a big platform. But I think that he's under the impression that he's hearing all this stuff and he's like, 50% of this stuff is not me. I just can't wait to get out of this and just tell people who I am. Like, I can't, maybe he is going to retire and take that $110 million podcast deal because you know what? He's finally going to be able to break free and tell people how he really feels. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And look, it's not an excuse being under pressure. We're men, we handle pressure differently, but I'm not saying it's a pressure from the NFL standpoint. I'm just life in general standpoint because, there are people throwing shit at his brother because they think Travis Kelce is a piece of shit because he's a liberal, which I don't even know how he feels because we're just assuming. And I think he's under a lot of pressure in that aspect to finally say, this is how I feel, America. And I'm just done. You guys are a bunch of idiots. I was there to play football. That's it. And I think he's under a lot of pressure in that aspect. What do you think about that?
Well, don't forget the Eagles general manager, Harry Rossman, got hit with a beer can at the parade. So he had a big thing on his head. So no, I think the age is catching up to him, Rich. I think, tight ends, they can only go so much. Gronk retired. I think Kelce's done. Let him go marry Taylor Swift and go into the sunset and stuff. I know the NFL loved this story for the past couple of years. But I'm ready to see an AFC team in the Super Bowl now, Rich. And, maybe it'll be your Jets now. I mean, before the Super Bowl started, we get a report on Fox that Aaron Rodgers is being let go. I mean, where did that come from, right?
I have mixed emotions about that. And let me tell you why. I have mixed emotions about that because up until this point, I told you how I feel about the Jets coaching a decision, which up until this point, I'm good with the coaching decision right now. Iceland, Ethan, what's up? Iceland, what's up, dude? Somebody's tuning in from Iceland. I think it might be Ethan from the Wreck, or maybe not.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, but it is.
What up, E-Dog in the house?
All right, what's up, kid? What are you doing in Iceland?
Well, it's better off he's in Iceland, Rich, because all the games were canceled at the Wreck yesterday, so he wouldn't be working.
All right, where was I going with this? I got distracted.
You're talking about the Jets.
Okay, the Jets.
About Aaron Rodgers going bye-bye, and you're talking about Aaron Glenn, and yeah.
I wanted like I said, I wanted a real coach to come in here, and I wanted a guy that's going to be like, I'm the coach and you're not. I wanted that kind of guy. But Aaron Glenn, growing on me. He doesn't want nothing to do with this media bullshit. what's up, Ben? And it's like,
Ben's signed on too, huh?
So what I'm kind of saying is, like, I'm kind of at a crossroads with it, because I understand the fact that Aaron Glenn is going to try and make his bones right now. Aaron Glenn right now is known as the defensive coordinator of a team that just couldn't make it to the Super Bowl. We have a high octane offense. We have a defense that struggled because of injury. I'm Aaron Glenn, and I'm not known as the guy that won the Super Bowl. I'm known as a guy who just couldn't get my defense to make that next step.
Rich,
now I'm a head coach.
I'm out.
Yeah,
with Aaron Glenn, time out. Do you think this is a repeat of Robert Saleh coming over? When Saleh came over, he was the defensive coordinator, and he was so hyped up to Aaron Glenn's press conference. What do you say? This is where he was like, he came with the same energy, Rich. That's what worries about me. These coaches come in with such energy, and then they go 5-12, and then what happens? The fans hate them.
Okay, but the way I understand that's a really good point. But the point that I'm looking at it a little, I looked at it a little bit further, because I was watching how they were personified. In other words, like Robert Saleh came in, and look, I was pumped. He said all the right things. He used, he cursed a lot, like, but I still think he looked like a fanboy. You know what I mean? Not a fanboy, kind of like he was like, "Look at us, we're gonna do great." But I think Aaron Glenn's perspective, I think, is the same, but I think it was more of a monotone. Don't mess with me. This is what we're going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. Whereas I think Robert Saleh portrayed the fact that I'm a happy guy. This is going to be great. Let's go, rah, rah, rah. Where Aaron Glenn's like, look, this is what we're going to do, and I'm going to show you guys on the field. I'm in charge. This guy is going to take care of this. This guy's going to take care of that. But I am the head coach of this football team. And I think by him saying that, said to me that Aaron Rodgers was gone, because I do feel the Jets have a team in place that could do well, because if you look at the talent on the team, but it also leads me to believe that there's talented football players on that team that don't want to be told what to do, because I think it's to a point where people are trying and it just didn't happen, because these guys are like, you're telling me what to do. And I think it was kind of like a culture that Robert Saleh probably, kind of like started, when he was cursing at the players, and the way he looked at Aaron Rodgers when he was enamored, and he's trying to talk to Rodgers and he pushes him away. It's like, people said don't look into that little bullshit, but that body language stuff means a lot, I think, because the body language on the sidelines of Robert Saleh was, to me, of a guy that was frustrated, the guy that was held hostage by somebody naming Woody Johnson because he couldn't say what he wanted to say. Aaron Glenn probably went into this job saying, listen, Woody, if you do this to me, I don't want this job. I'm being offered a job somewhere else. I love the New York Jets. I'm a product of Bill Parcells, but I'm not Bill Parcells. But let me do what I want to do, and don't pull the same bullshit that you pulled with Robert, or I'm not taking this football team on. I will go somewhere else and start somewhere else. And I definitely don't want to be told that Aaron Rodgers has input in my offense. This is where I thought it got tricky, where I think that's where the conversation happened. And I think that's what was said. So at that time, management was just like, you know what? Let's just cut ties with Aaron and let's develop a quarterback. If we have to use Tyrod Taylor, we have to trade for Matthew Stafford. I don't know what's going to happen, but let's start over.
Yep. But do you think Aaron Rodgers threw the Jets back 5 years, Rich? I mean, they had this plan. Now he's gone. Do you think it's going to be how many years now? I mean, the team hasn't made the playoffs in 14, 15 years. I mean, what this franchise, what gives?
I don't know. And I don't know. And it's very frustrating. Like, it's past the point of being like, it's funny. I get it. I could take all the shit, but it's past the point of the fact that it's just the Jets. They got bad luck. No, there's something going on there. Like, there literally is something happening there where you could put a team together and you could have a Hall of Fame quarterback, a guy he's going to walk into the Hall of Fame or limp into the Hall of Fame, blow out his Achilles on the fourth play. Then he rehabs quicker than anybody and he comes back. But everybody knows you could come back from that injury, but you're not going to be the same. So how about the fact that he threw for almost 4,000 yards last year and still had a decent year? Coaching is the absolute problem. There's a culture problem with the Jets, and it's always been there. There's a losing problem there in the Jets, because you go to the Jets and you automatically know you're going to lose because people tell you. And being the fact that these maybe younger players are very impressionable, if somebody in the locker room is pissed off and is cancerous by saying, "Oh, welcome to the Jets, this franchise sucks," that is going to go, and that's going that's going to spread like wildfire. So I'm hoping that now Rodgers is gone, whether I want him to stay, but listen, if we got to start over a new quarterback, that's fine. But I think that if there's a culture change with Aaron Glenn right now, and we're seeing a complete change between 2 to 3 years of the way the Jets are perceived. I'm not saying Super Bowl. I just want my team to be perceived in a certain way that we can one day become winners, because right now the Giants are getting a lot of shit from their fan base. But at the end of the day, they're still the Giants, and they're going to go back to being the Giants. The Jets have nothing to go back to. The Jets are going to go back to being shit if something doesn't change.
Yeah, sorry, I was just watching a pop up on my screen here. Yeah, but honestly, Rich, do you think it's the identity, Rich? Do you think if they built a stadium where their roots were in Queens? I mean, they've been in Jersey for 40 years now, and 41 years actually being in Jersey. I mean, the team hasn't really done much. I know in '86 they got off to that 10-1 start. They lose their last 5 games. They finished 10-6. They had a couple of AFC championship games they made too, but we all know what happened there. But do you think their identity, Rich, did he need to move back to their roots, or is that generation already past that? They were in Queens, they were Long Island, they were that part of New York. I mean, would that help the franchise, do you think? Or Woody Johnson maybe selling the team?
I think all of the above, what you just said. And I think what you said about an identity problem, I think this is perfect timing for an identity problem to happen, because it's not too late. Because you know why? Because I'm feeling the identity problem, because I've witnessed the Shea Stadium games moving to the Meadowlands, and then from the Meadowlands be calling Giant Stadium. So yes, I definitely do, in a franchise way, think that's an identity problem. I think in a fandom way, I think that's an identity problem. And I think moving would be a good thing for the Jets to get under the umbrella of the New York Giants, because the Giants could then flourish with them, and the Jets could go on and do it. I think it is an identity problem. And I think, but that has nothing to do with the players or the fans. And it has to do with the fact that we have an owner. Look, like I said, I hated the Wilpons. They were terrible owners. They never really did anything for the Mets. I mean, look, they got the stadium built, but at the end of the day, they really never gave the Mets an identity. Woody Johnson never, even Leon Hess, never gave the Jets a real identity. You know what I mean? Because Woody Johnson, he's the Jets owner, but you know what though? He wants to get a job with Trump, or he wants to sell baby powder. He's a multi-billionaire who doesn't care about his team. I really don't think that he cares. And I think that if you really don't care about your team, I think you need to shut up. I think you need to just stop giving your input. And I think you need to put somebody in charge that's going to make those decisions, because you obviously don't know what you're doing. You obviously want to sit at cocktail parties and dinners and say, hey, I own the New York Jets. Who cares? Do you care about the New York Jets? Yes or no? That's what we want to know. We don't want to know that you own them. We want to know that you care about the fan base, and we want to know that you're going to do something to improve the morale of the fans. And I think you're right. I think getting out of there would be perfect. And I think, look, they're building a soccer stadium over in Queens, which is great. That's going to get more viewers than anything in Queens. The soccer stadium is going to do better than it's going to do better than Citi Field, I think. But putting a football stadium there, giving the Jets back their identity, sharing space, not a building, just sharing an area with the Mets. I mean, come on. Mets up and coming, whether you Yankee fans want to admit it or not, we're finally finding our identity. The Jets need to do the same thing, dude. They need to either sell, or they need Woody to get up off his ass, forget about everything else, and worry about this fan base who has no identity and how mad we are.
Yeah, speaking about the fan base, Rich, in the early 90s, I actually had Jets season tickets. Why? Mm-hmm. Because I wanted to see NFL games. You couldn't get Giants tickets, but Jets tickets were available. And you know what? I saw Emmitt Smith. I saw Barry Sanders. And that was the only way I can get in. Same thing with the Nets when they played in Jersey. I saw Michael Jordan. I saw Magic Johnson, because I couldn't afford Madison Square Garden. I was a kid at the time, like a teenager or whatever, in my early 20s. But, that's what it is, Rich. There's no fan identity with the Jets. I'm saying it's just fans that want to see NFL games. I mean, you look at Fireman Ed. I mean, there's some.
I hate Fireman Ed. That's not all right. That's the thing. That's our identity. That's our identity right there in a nutshell. Fireman Ed is our identity. Some guy that, what's the other guy? The other idiot that dressed.
Yeah.
Him. Oh, Jetman. Yeah, Jetman. We have no identity. It sucks. And it's the fact we need somebody to come in, whether it be an owner, a player, somebody that's going to come in. That's, like I said, I know it was outrageous and crazy to say, but that's why I wanted Deion and Shedeur Sanders to kind of come to the Jets. Whether it was a work or not, it's a complete change in culture. It's a complete change in everybody else, it will become a culture of look at me, look at me. I want that culture. I just want something different. I want a pulse. And the Jets have zero pulse. We drafted Zach Wilson as our first round draft pick. And you could say the same thing about the Giants, getting Daniel Jones, but I'm not talking about the Giants. We drafted Zach Wilson from Brigham Young. Now, I understand there was another quarterback that did very well that came from Brigham Young, but there were just two men that are built differently. Zach Wilson was not Steve Young. Yep. Just it's not plausible for a team like the Jets to not even be able to get their coaching staff right, because last year, Eric, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, we had a good football team. We just needed coaches to put them in place and tell them how to play football.
Yep. No, I agree. And, I had tickets in 96 for the Jets. They're 1-15 year, Rich. And I did go to every home game except when they played the Houston Oilers. Now, I know for the listeners out there, the Houston Oilers, you're throwing back time. Though there was a team, the Houston Oilers. Now they're the Tennessee Titans. But yeah, that was the only game I didn't go to. It was in a monsoon. But I remember going to all these games just to see the opposition coming, Rich, because I got to see Dan Marino, like I said, Emmitt Smith and all these Hall of Famers, but I couldn't do it as a Giant fan. But you do need the identity. And if you build a stadium in Queens, you better put a roof on it. That's one thing.
Yeah. I guess, everybody used to say, oh, why can't you guys just play outside? Why can't Minnesota just play outside? Why can't Detroit just play outside? Because it's cold, dude. It's cold. I understand you want to be that tough guys back in the day. And you remember like the Dallas Cowboys playing against the Colts in the Ice Bowl where they said it was like playing on concrete, but it's a different game. People want comfort. Look, I went to the Miami Marlins Mets game a couple of years ago. I guess it was 2021. Indoor, air conditioned. It was beautiful, dude. Beautiful. I don't know. They need a dome. You're right. Like I said, I'm all about these idiots in Green Bay running around in Chicago with their shirts off. It looks kind of cool, but at the end of the day, I want to just chill out and watch a game. You know what I mean? Just like, in air conditioning or heat.
Chicago's inching towards a dome, but I never think Lambeau Field getting a dome would be sacrilegious, Rich. We never happen. Never dome on Lambeau, right?
And I think with a lot of these baseball playoffs going a lot further into November now, it's like that, a lot of these teams have to think about doing some kind of dome procedure because, it's kind of, listen, I get it. It's Northeast. But I do say it's kind of like, we should be playing, the Yankees, perennial playoff, and just when they get to that certain point, it's like in November, it's like, if you're playing in the World Series on November 2nd, there's a possibility it could be 40 degrees.
But then on the flip side, Rich, it could be 70 degrees. Like game 4 was 70 degrees at Yankee Stadium, for heaven's sakes. There were fans not wearing jackets that night. So, like I said, Mother Nature, you never know, right? It could be cold in May, for heaven's sakes. I was in Las Vegas. I go to a Yankee game when I come back the next day. And I go to the Yankee game, you figure like late May, I didn't have a jacket. It was 45 degrees. So coming from Vegas where it was 185,000 degrees to Yankee Stadium was 45 degrees. It wasn't good on the body, Rich. So just like today, when it's going to be 50 degrees today, they say, and 2 degrees tomorrow. So, you're going to feel it. I'm so enamored by the weather, Rich. I even brought it up now, but can we put the final nail in the coffin for the 2024 football season and get on to what's happening this week?
Yes. And what's happening this week? This week is the start of, spring training baseball. And the smell is in the air.
Juan Soto has walked into Mets camp. Yes. Aaron Judge has walked into Yankees camp. Even Marcus Stroman showed up to Yankees camp, Rich.
He has. I know. Now, you know what? Let's get all that. Let's get the negative out of the way first. Marcus Stroman should shut the hell up. Okay. I'm tired. And the Yankees have 2 players that have done that to them now. And I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I just think maybe it's a Marcus Stroman is completely allowed to think that he is a starting pitcher on that baseball team. It's Marcus Stroman's job as a Major League Baseball player to think that he's the best player in that rotation. I'm not saying mentality wise. I'm not saying he is, but mentality wise. But if your coach tells you that we're going to go to a six player rotation, or you might have to pitch out of the bullpen, your response should not just be, I'm a starter. No, I'm a starter. No, that should not be your response. Whether you have internal beef with the coach's decision or the GM's decision or whoever that decision is, same with Gleyber Torres. All right, go to Gleyber Torres. Listen, Glaber, Jazz Chisholm's coming here. He's going to be productive for us. He's playing well. He's going to steal bases. He's got a good glove, but he's a second baseman. Can we see what we got going on at third base for you? Let's take some ground balls. Didn't even take a ground ball at third base because he said no. So now he's gone, which is fine. But there's something to be said about these players, again, just saying no. Not just having a discussion or why it would be better for the team. The coach at the end of the day, whether he makes a shit ton, a lot less than he starts now, at the end of the day, the coach is going to do what's better for the team. The coach is watching everybody. The coach is not just watching you. The coach is not just watching the center fielder or the pitcher. The coach is watching everybody. If he sees a little thing that, you know what, let's get Jazz. Jazz is a better second baseman than you, and let's see if you could conform to third base. You should just say yes. Marcus Stroman, whether he's pissed, should just say yes. He's going to get traded. He's going to get traded. And who's going to take on that headache one more time? He's not Roger Clemens, where you can throw a piece of a baseball bat at Mike Piazza and still be considered the greatest of all time. He's Marcus Stroman. He's a troublemaker. He's he's very self-centered. He's very self-absorbed. So the Yankees are going to send him packing. Maybe that's what he wanted, but just say yes. Say yes. I'll give it a try, Skip. If it doesn't work, you'll tell me if it doesn't work. I don't know how I look on the field. I think I'm amazing. I'm the greatest baseball player on the planet. That's me because I have to have that mentality. But you tell me how I look at third base or how I'm pitching or whether I should be a reliever. What did Clay Holmes say when he got to the Mets? I don't care. Skip, what am I doing? Put me in the bullpen, make me a starter, I'm here to win baseball games. Stop with these players thinking they're bigger than the game because the coach is watching everything, and there's a reason why he said you're going to be a sixth starter or you're going to go into the bullpen. There's a reason for that because he's the coach. If that's how they want to be, just take everything out of the equation and be like the Lakers and let LeBron James be your coach. That's all. Get coaches out of the equation completely and let these players start coaching. Well, at the end of the day, baseball is a sport where you need to have faith in your coach. And if your coach tells you to do something, you do it.
One thing about Stroman, though, Rich, he didn't pitch in the playoffs at all. So basically, since the end of the season, they had about 16, 17 more games. He didn't see the mound once. And you know what? He didn't even mouth off about it. I was shocked. I thought we were going to get some feedback about that. But, the 6-man rotation thing or saying that he's a starter. So how many times in spring training, Rich, does a starter go down? And the guy, it always works out like that. So I think having the surplus of pitching is great. I mean, look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers are like 8 deep, and now Ohtani's throwing now. So he's going to be starting before the season, ends and stuff like that. So, I think it's good having 6 starters. I mean, but I really think the mouthing off and stuff like that, I really think that's, getting your way off the team. But he did show up for spring training, Rich. You don't have to show up till February 22nd, which is the union rule. And Zach Greinke never did that. And he was never, but that's Zach Greinke. He always showed up on the 22nd. So the fact that Stroman did show up to spring training, I mean, it's kind of schizophrenic if you tell me, right?
It is. And I don't know if it's a mentality, I think this day and age, if you're a coach, if you're like a little league coach, or if you're like, if you're a travel baseball coach, I think it's a lot harder, I think now for you too, because I think earlier on, I think a lot of these kids, if they're not coached the proper way at a young age, they go into certain situations thinking that the coach can't tell me what to do. Now, I saw a little bit of that as I was coaching. I coached Little League, obviously, that's where we met. But I've seen that kind of start a little bit. But I think the ego kind of is getting a little bigger with these kids sometimes because, the fact that, if you're 12 right now and you're really good, baseball is your life. Every single day you're going to hitting, you're going to pitching, which is great. Keeps the kids doing what they love. But I think that also adds to an ego factor, to where the parents are telling the coaches that my kid is doing this, where the son doesn't like the way that he's being treated on the field by the coach. And he thinks that he should be a shortstop. And his dad thinks he's the best shortstop on his team. But the coach says, wait a second, your kid's a right fielder or a left fielder. I think that there's something to be said about that because it's kind of just like, I really don't know how to just give me 1 second here. Eric. I gotta do something.
Do you think the major leaguers dictate to what the kids are thinking nowadays? Like if a kid wants to play shortstop, oh well, I see my hero says he doesn't want to play shortstop. Gleyber Torres doesn't want to play third base. Why should I play third base? So you think the kids are taking what the kids are basically major league players, what their attitudes are basically.
Yeah. And again, I don't know if it's just like, just inconsistency and telling your kid, I don't know what it is, but I think that you have to be realistic at some point. And I think that a lot of these kids are saying, look, Gleyber Torres doesn't want to play second base. I don't think I'm a second baseman. I want to play third base. Coach, it's like, how about we get through all these trials and tribulations, and let the coaches coach, even at a younger level. Let them coach them when they're young. Let them coach them in high school. Let's get these high school coaches, and it's like, start teaching them more about culture and these kids have already learned how to play the game. I mean, they know what to do, but they just need to be pointed in the right direction. And I think a lot of coaching has to do with a lot of culture change, I think, because, you get to the major leagues, or you get to NFL, you get to these, the NBA, they wind up thinking that they're bigger than the coach and they're bigger than the game. That because, if you're the top NBA prospect in the league and you're in, like, say you just in Kansas, a small town of Kansas with like 500 people, if you're the number one prospect, there's that population is going to quadruple because there's people going to be coming from all over the country to watch you play, to talk to you. And if you're 16 years old, 15-year-old, that feels pretty damn good. And you could either take that as I got to work harder and I got to continue this, or some kids just take it as, wow, this feels pretty damn good. I'm the man. So I'm just going to kick back and do it. I'm not going to do what this guy says. Somebody already told me I'm great. I'm a freshman and I just got a handshake full ride to Florida State. So I'm going to Florida State to become a pitcher. Bro, right now you're a senior in high school. I mean, I'm sorry, you're whatever you are. You're a sophomore in high school. You got a handshake from some coach down in Florida who says you're going to be their shortstop. Got a lot of growing to do, dude. And I think a lot of that starts at the high school level, and a lot of that starts at like the little league level, even. You know what I mean? And the parents too. The parents have to be realistic as well. And I think a lot of that's starting to trickle into the major leagues now, and the NBA and all those other sports. I really do.
Crazy. So Rich, now baseball's starting. I mean, the Dodgers are of course the favorites to win the World Series, but World Series are never won on paper, Rich. So what do you think? Dodgers going to win the World Series, or anything can happen?
Let's just. Dodgers are our favorite to win the World Series, right? Okay, so Dodgers are favorite to win the World Series. Yeah, Shohei Ohtani is the greatest player on the face of the planet. I mean, look, there's nobody does what he does. It really, it's like there's nobody like him out there right now. There's nobody that can, and there's been players that do both, I guess, but nobody does it on such a high level as both. Like, he's a high level starting pitcher, and he's the best hitter in the game. He steals bases. He's just an all around well-built. He's just a well-built machine on the baseball field.
We know 162 game schedule could be really cruel, Rich. I mean, it's a marathon. Anything could happen. I mean, even the Dodgers, out there, they're plus 240 to win the World Series. I mean, that's not even there. If they were negative, that's one thing, but there's still something out there that says, hey, it's a grueling season. Something could happen to any team, basically.
And I say this in jest, and I said that, I did that podcast with a bunch of the younger guys last week. I said this in jest, but I think should be a little truth to it. I think they should be pitching them high and tight sometimes. I really do. I mean, because again, baseball is all about repetition. Baseball is all about doing the same thing. If it works, just do it. Keep doing it. And I just think if you get somebody that's going to kind of like, throw high and tight to Ohtani and see if he really is a cyborg, see if he really does get spooked a little bit, because nobody wants to get hit. I'm not saying hit him. I'm just saying, like, the way he holds that bat, make him move his hands more, make him kind of duck out of the way a little bit, give him a little, don't hit him, but kind of like pitch him differently, because the guy's going to kill you no matter what, and he's in his strike zone. You can make it small, big. It doesn't matter, because the way he swings the bat, his red zone is so big that he's going to hit the ball no matter what. He's not like Judge. Like Judge, I feel bad for being 6'8", like, how big he is. When he first came into the major leagues, like, he was getting hosed a little bit because he's getting those low fastball strikes because he's 6'8". And a normal guy that's 6'1" should have swung at that, but he's 6 inches too tall. So now he's getting a little bit of the benefit. But I think Ohtani's getting that benefit too, kind of a little bit, because he's always just supposed to do something, and he always does. So pitching him high and tight, I'm not saying walk him. The whole intentional walk thing, I know it's a strategy, and I know it works. And, listen, they intentionally walked Barry Bonds twice in his career with the bases loaded. What's his name did it this year, Garrett Cole, because he didn't want to pitch to Xander Bogaerts. I mean, so there's a lot of philosophy around that, but don't walk him, pitch to him, be a man. But maybe throw him high and tight every once in a while. Maybe mess up his mechanics a little bit. That's all I'm saying.
Yep. Now with the Mets, Rich, of course, Francisco Lindor, he's going to be named team captain, right? So
what's a lion? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
I'm listening.
Okay, Lindor is going to be named captain, most likely of the Mets. The first captain.
I want to talk about that.
Right, right. Yep. Are you okay with that? You're down with that, right?
Eric, I'm going to say this. Eric, Francisco Lindor, before he even came to the Mets, was my favorite baseball player playing now and one of my favorites of all time. And I've been saying this for at least 2 years. He should be the captain.
No.
Yes,
yeah,
without a doubt, dude. Sorry, without a doubt.
I agree 110%. But you got Juan Soto now, who we said wanted to be the alpha all the time. How do you think Juan Soto's going to feel about that Lindor's the captain? Or does Soto wait till Lindor retires and then he gets named captain? I mean, how do you think Soto's going to feel about
Juan Soto is not the captain of a baseball team. No, I'm serious. No. There's a little philosophy behind this one, a little psychology behind this. Juan Soto's a guy that you want to go into like male personalities. You have alphas and you have sigmas and stuff. The sigma personality leads by example, doesn't have to tell people what to do. I think I think Soto fits that mold. Now maybe going forward, maybe, I don't know, because Lindor is a leader and Soto's a doer. Soto is going to go out there. I don't think Soto has any problem at all sitting there and listening to a speech from Francisco Lindor about getting the team going. As a matter of fact, I think in 2 or 3 years from now, you're going to be talking about those two as the best tandem in baseball. I'm telling you right now, give them 2 years to just be cohesive. And I think Soto is going to be a captain by default in like 2 years, along with Captain Lindor. I think there's going to be 2 captains by default. I think what's his name's going to, I think Alvarez is going to start to take a role with that, being that he's the, there's going to be Lindor as the captain. I think Soto and Alvarez are also going to take on kind of like co-captain roles because of the cohesiveness. But yes, I don't think Soto's not the captain of a baseball team. Soto might be the best player on the team, but he's not the captain. Lindor is.
Also, Vladimir Guerrero is a co-captain, right? With on that infield, right?
He will be. But see that? All right, now let's talk about that for a second. Like I'm for one. Like one of the best moves the Mets made, is bringing Pete back. I mean, look, they got Soto. They gave him all the money, this, that, and the other thing. But I don't think Pete Alonso goes to any other baseball team and becomes Pete Alonso. I think Pete Alonso being a Met is important for him and the Mets. This is why. Pete Alonso is comfortable with the New York Mets. Pete Alonso is here in the lineup. Pete Alonso is going to finally, for the first time in his career, going to get protection from a lineup that has never given him protection. He's most likely going to be hitting between Juan Soto and Mark Vientos, or he's going to be between Soto. He's going to get protection with Lindor, Soto, and Vientos. If he finished up the season and still does the same thing, they're going to get pitches. Alonso might hit 40 home runs, get 115 RBIs this year. Alonso coming to this team is one of the better signings, I think, for the Mets. And going forward, I mean, I don't know, man. I think the Mets can win the World Series this year.
I think anybody can win the World Series, Rich. It all depends on health and, making the right moves at the trading deadline. The more I had to sleep on it, Rich, it's been like 3 or 4 months. I kind of feel that the Yankees not signing Juan Soto might have been the best move the Yankees made in the offseason, because the Yankees were able to get to this supposedly plan B. Let's see if it works out or not. But the Yankees do have an easy path, although the Red Sox have chimed in with Bregman at third base now, or actually he's going to play second base, I guess. But that signing was a little weird because I know he lost a lot of money. He's a Boros client. He lost a lot of money in the offseason. He's got an amazing average at Fenway Park. I was going to say Yankee Stadium because I was thinking about Paul Goldschmidt, who has an amazing average at Yankee Stadium. But Bregman has the amazing average at Fenway Park, which plays 81 games there. The question is, he's on the other side of 30. He's 31 years old, and he had his best career when they were cheating. So he's kind of like back with his manager again, of course. But the whole cheating aspect of the Astros might come back to haunt Bregman. What do you think?
I personally think Bregman made the right decision. He's going to a Red Sox team now that they're hungry, dude. They're still the Red Sox. They're not the 19, whatever Red Sox. Like, they got this kid Duran, right? They got Bregman. Okay. They got, what's his name? Xander Bogaerts, right?
No, Bogaerts is on the Padres.
What's his name? I get him confused with who's the other guy? Not Xander Bogaerts.
Rafael Devers. That's who you're talking about.
Devers. Those are 3 guys, right?
Colon pitched to Devers. You said Bogaerts.
I said, you know what it is? I always get the two of them confused for some reason. But I think Bregman went to the perfect spot for him because they're not done. A, okay. B, I think that the Red Sox are not the old Red Sox. The Red Sox want to get back and they want to know what it's like to be a champion again. So it's a very, very enticing place to go because of Cora. It's a very enticing place to go because of the culture over there in Boston, because of the fans. So you better look out for the Red Sox, man. I think Bregman leaving the Astros was probably going to wind up being the best choice that he ever made.
Could be, and he's got to opt out every year, so it might be the best choice he ever makes. He doesn't like Boston; he goes somewhere else next year.
Now let me ask you a question. Talking about opt outs, we were talking about Pete Alonso before. Don't you find it pretty fishy that Pete Alonso signed a good contract, 2 years, he's making $30 million this year with an opt out next year? So don't you find that a little weird that he's got an opt out next year? Do you think that Pete Alonso right now won because right now he's the highest paid yearly first baseman in baseball? Think about it. Who's making more than $30 million for one season being a first baseman right now?
Right, exactly.
Okay. So they said, look, Pete, you're the highest paid first baseman in baseball. Look at your stupid, Boris right there. He gets the highest paid first baseman on a yearly basis. So his money ratio goes up. But listen, dude, there's a possibility that we may be getting Guerrero next year. So I'm just saying, if you want to opt out next year, it's going to cost, you get $24 million. But if you want to opt out, you can opt out because there's a really, really good chance that Vladimir Guerrero is going to be playing first base next year, Pete. How do you feel about that? Well, let's stick with the opt-out, and we'll see how I feel there. Maybe I can just, So I think that the Mets are eventually, just by even giving Pete the opt-out next year, doing him a favor I think the Mets are going to be hardcore going after Vladimir Guerrero next year because of the opt-out clause that's in Pete's contract after one season.
I think it's going to be an all-out war again between the Yankees and Mets, Rich. I think the Yankees want Guerrero too. I know there were some issues where Guerrero said he would never play with the Yankees, but he changed his attitude on that. He said he would play anywhere. So I know we had the issues with Ken Griffey Jr., who said he would rather, he would rather quit baseball than ever get traded to the Yankees because, I think there were some issues with him playing at Yankee Stadium when his dad was there and stuff like that. But then you had Pat Mahomes catching fly balls in center field when his dad was on the Mets, but I guess that was allowed. But it's the whole culture, Rich. And I just want to take a step back to the culture. Mm-hmm. I think the Yankees have to change. I know I just get this. We go off target, Rich. The Yankees got to let their guys wear beards. I mean, look at Devin Williams shaving off the beard, and I just hope it doesn't make him want to not come to New York because he is the best closer in the game right now. And I think that having this bullpen the Yankees have, you got to love it. The Yankees aren't going to score too many runs this year like last year, but the Yankees are going to win a lot of 4-3 games because they have to shut down bullpen. And no other team, maybe besides the Dodgers, has a bullpen like the Yankees have right now.
Now, do you think that there's something to be said about the Yankees just not being the Yankees anymore? They can't get away with doing stuff like, listen, if you're going to come here, you got to shave your beard. People would shave their beards back then. Do you think the Yankees are a destination now where they're not the Yankees? If you say, wait a minute, I got to shave my beard, I'll just go to Boston and I'll pitch, or I'll just go here and I'll play because they're going to pay me the same money and they're winning World Series too.
But then you have somebody like Johnny Damon a couple of years ago when he came to the Yankees, shaved his beard off the first day. He said, "Oh man, this is great."
That's a couple of years ago.
Looks like a caveman, right?
That's a couple of years ago. I think that the dynamic has changed since the days of Johnny Damon shaving his beard to the days of, all right, you're the Yankees, I understand, but I'm not shaving my beard.
You have Carlos Carrasco come in now. Carrasco is signed to a minor league contract, and Carrasco is quoted as saying this week, everybody's dream is to play with the Yankees. So, it's what people talk about. It's what's on social media and stuff like that. I still think there's an aura. And, you look in New York, you got the Giants and the Jets. You got the Knicks and the Nets. You got the Yankees and the Mets. I mean, it's always going to be like that, Rich. Even I told my friend, I said, what if the Nets trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo? And you know what he told me? The Nets will always be the Nets, even if they have the best basketball player in New York. Yeah, because they're always living in the Knicks shadow, basically. So
Giannis is going to the Lakers next year, anyway.
Probably.
Giannis is going to the Lakers next year.
Yeah, exactly.
We got to talk a little basketball at the end here because I got to tell you something about basketball.
Yeah, but Rich, are the Lakers?
Are
the Lakers going to go 82-0? Are the Dodgers going to go 162-0 this year, Rich? Come on now. You got to play the games.
They play the games, man.
What about playing the games? I mean, Juan Soto can go out there on opening day and pull a hamstring. You don't see him again until June. Then what happens, right? I mean, look at last year. The Mets bring in, what's his name, Iglesias. You need that spark plug. Iglesias comes in. Look at the Mets. They took off when Iglesias came.
I got two things about Iglesias. A, would you want him to play third base for your team right now?
Oh, hell yeah. Okay. I put out there a couple of weeks ago the Yankees should sign either DeJong, who went to, I think he got signed today by the Nationals, Iglesias. I would love to have Iglesias out there because you know what? DJ LeMahieu could be the Anthony Rizzo of the past. We've seen the past 2 years. I mean, it's great. DJ LeMahieu has a history, but look at Rizzo, how Rizzo deteriorated over his last 2 years. He was nothing. And, you know, Oswaldo Cabrera, great guy, hits from both sides of the plate. But how long is that experiment going to last? If he gets off to a bad start this year, Rich, I mean, you got to cut ties with that guy, too, because he's been with the team for how many years now? Peraza has no more. You can't send him to the minors anymore, so you're stuck with Peraza. So let's see what this guy has in the tank. And if anything, I think the Yankees definitely could have used Bregman, but I don't think they needed to put the money in Bregman. I think Bregman gone elsewhere. I think the Yankees missed out on the third baseman, and Nolan Arenado is not the solution. I think the Yankees have to go with it. But you know what, though? Getting Iglesias, who has played third base in the past, I think putting him at third base, just the injection. He's old. I mean, he's like 35 years old, been around a long time. 36. But I think you put him at third base, just as look what the oh my God did to the Mets last year. You know, I'll take Grimace to play third base for heaven's sakes.
You want to hear my nightmare scenario that I just came up with the other day when I heard about this might work, this Jose Iglesias thing? My nightmare scenario is the Mets and the Yankees. They do exactly what both of us want them to do. The Mets wind up getting over the hump. They win the NL East. They go to the World Series. Yankees back to the World Series. They win the American League. Okay, Mets and Yankees. Right. Game 7 in Citi Field. Jose Iglesias hits a home run in the top of the ninth to go on and made the game-winning home run. Yankees celebrate to the "Oh My God" song in Citi Field. That would be the worst possible thing. That would be worse than Aaron Rodgers blowing out his Achilles on the fourth play of the opening season. Watching Jose Iglesias hit a home run to win the World Series. And I wouldn't even be mad at Jose Iglesias. I wouldn't be mad. I'd be mad at the situation. I'd be happy for Iglesias, but I'd be mad at the situation and playing that song in the background.
It's funny because didn't you have like a dream, Rich, where Soto hit the home run in Game 7? I remember you talked about it. We talked about it on a podcast back in September or something like that. How you had this epiphany that Juan Soto would hit a home run in Game 7 and then sign with the Mets. Well, your dream was halfway true, I guess, right?
That dream almost came true. So now you tell me the Jose Iglesias dream is going to come true? I hope not, man.
But you know,
I got a baseball question for you.
The Yankees third baseman. I mean, they never had a really good third baseman, Rich. I mean, the Yankees' best third baseman was probably A-Rod, and then Greg Nettles behind that. So you're talking a franchise been around 115 years. So the only great third baseman was A-Rod, basically, on that team. So maybe they can get away with what they have.
Yeah. What do you think about A-Rod getting 48% this year as far as the Hall of Fame?
I think A-Rod deserves the Hall of Fame. One of the best baseball players of our generation, Rich.
Stop. He's the best shortstop that ever played. Come on.
I think A-Rod, though, one of the best players, though.
I'm just saying shortstop. I know he played third base for the Yankees,
shortstop. Yeah.
He's the best shortstop ever. If you want to take it, A, he's a really good glove, and B, he's probably the most prolific hitters ever to pick up a baseball bat.
Oh, no doubt.
He's a douche. He's a jerk. But, it's A-Rod's amazing, dude. He really is. And
we see douches in the Hall of Fame, though, Rich. I mean, I don't think that the douche card holds you back. But, all these guys still getting blackballed, Rich. And, of course, you're Pete Rose, too, still getting blackballed posthumously.
Yeah, I know. It is. Look, the guy's dead now. So, I mean, and if I've said this numerous times, I think that if his family were to get a call to induct him into the Hall of Fame, I think whether it's however they feel or not, I think the Rose family should tell him to shove it right up where it hurts, shove it right up their ass, the Hall of Fame. I think the Rose family should say that.
You're okay with C. Sabathia getting in though, right? Sabathia,
absolutely, 100%, absolutely. Who got in? I had a problem with somebody. Who got in this year? Was CC? Who else?
Ichiro.
Wait a second. I had something to show you on Ichiro. Something about his I think they showed the list of hits, something like that. And he had 0 hits coming into the major. It's something I'll tell you later. But he is, and still, even him, one person voted against him. Why? Why you got to be that one guy that votes against him? One guy voted against Mariano Rivera. Why do you got to be that one guy?
But Billy Wagner, Rich, was that the guy who you were thinking, or Dave Parker? I don't know who you were thinking about.
Billy Wagner's not a Hall of Famer, dude. Billy Wagner's not a Hall of Famer. I don't know. I think I had a problem with somebody else, but you know what? Though, it's past the point of us having any problems, really, because because me and you can say whatever we want. They're gonna, the right until they switch up the way the Hall of Fame is inducted. Then we're always going to have something to say about who gets in and who doesn't get in. Because at the end of the day, it's all about money. It's all about people coming to that town of Cooperstown and going to the inductions and whatever. So if they just turn around and stand up and say, listen, we're having no induction this year because nobody deserves to get into the Hall of Fame, you're not hurting anybody's feelings. You're just simply saying nobody is an immortal player this year and that's eligible to get into the Hall of Fame. Nobody's immortal, so we're not having the celebration. So-and-so is eligible next year. You know what I mean?
But Rich,
I guess they have to every year.
Look how long it took Dave Parker. I mean, Dave Parker had 340 home runs. Yeah. He had 2,700 hits, and an average of 290 in his career, 7-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion. I mean, why did he have to wait? I mean, when did he retire? In the 90s? He had to wait about 35 years to get into the Hall of Fame. I mean, if that's what takes to hold, nobody doesn't make the Hall of Fame anymore between what's out there right now.
No. I don't know. It's so watered down. Wait, go back to just go back to one thing real quick. This is another thing I'm sick and tired of in public. You talk about Pat Mahomes the other day.
Oh, you saw the fight?
I really truly thought that was a real altercation because Pat Mahomes' dad's a disaster. As a matter of fact, didn't he get caught drunk driving last year at the Super Bowl?
Yeah, seriously.
He's a disaster. John Rocker is a loser, a big, fat, racist loser.
You see how fat he is?
I would love for that to be real. Bro, it's not real. They're fighting in what's his name? That idiot from Barstool, Dave Portnoy, is trying to promote his own type of fighting. That was a staged event. They're fighting in some stupid thing that Dave Portnoy is doing right now.
Is that a pay-per-view?
I hate that because,
Is that going to be on pay-per-view, that fight?
I don't know what it's going to be. I just saw it. I saw it the other day. It's like RRY boxing or something like that. I really hoped, and look, nobody wants to see people fight, but everybody knows that Pat Mahomes' dad's a disaster. Everybody knows that John Rocker's a piece of shit. I would love for that to be real. Two drunk guys getting into a fight, and they're both pieces of shit. But no, it was staged because idiot Dave Portnoy wants to keep up with maybe Jake Paul or somebody. It's so stupid. I don't want to see that shit anymore, dude. I just don't. I don't. If you're gonna fight. Just do it.
Yeah.
Fight. Huh?
What's up with Mahomes Sr. though? He's got arrested a couple of times already. He didn't seem like that when he was in the majors, right? He must have hit the head or something. That
kid's. That's what I was just gonna say. I don't think he had any problems when he was in the majors, but if that guy is any premonition of what happens when the Mahomes men get older, I can't wait to see Pat Mahomes start losing his mind. The kid's only 26. I can't wait till he starts losing his mind. He's going to maybe his brother's going to say something stupid on Instagram or something. He's going to publicly beat up his brother or something. Or I don't know. He's going to do something. Pat Mahomes' gene pool is not in his favor right now for somebody who's going to keep his shit together after he's 30 years old.
Yeah. He's got a kid though that plays at Brown University. I mean, yeah,
I know.
We'll see.
I think unfortunately, I think unfortunately, he's an addict. He's an alcoholic. You know what I mean? And I know what that's like to see people. We all know what it's like to see people, alcoholics and live, in the wild. And Pat Mahomes' dad he's an alcoholic, man. And I feel bad because Pat Mahomes must have had to endure a lot of shit when he was a kid because his dad being embarrassing, or whatever. But at this point in time, Pat Mahomes Sr. is doing nothing but embarrassing Pat Mahomes Jr. And I don't think Pat Mahomes really cares too much, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? He probably doesn't care. I'm the best. I've won Super Bowls. I'm the best player, and he's probably doing it in spite of what his dad does, and he has to kind of drag his dad along for the ride. You know what I mean? He's surrounded for somebody that's so quiet. Pat Mahomes really surrounds himself with very polarizing people. His wife is very polarizing. His brother, obviously his dad. He surrounds himself with very polarizing people, man.
Andy Reid, right?
Andy Reid. How can you not feel bad for that guy, man? This kid. Oh my God, how can you not feel bad about him?
Couldn't even eat a cheeseburger after the Super Bowl, right?
I got a question that I wanted to ask you before. Okay.
Yep.
Who is gonna be better off or worse off? Do you think Baltimore losing Corbin Burns, or do you think Arizona gaining Corbin Burns is going to be the better of that trade? Do you think Baltimore is going to kind of go down the tubes more now because they lost him, or do you think Corbin Burns is going to add something to Arizona where they could quite possibly now win a World Series?
Actually, you gave me A and B. I'll take C. I'll say the Yankees are better off that Corbin Burns is out of the division, along with Juan Soto. And all these guys went to the National League. You know,
good point. Yep.
You know the National League West. You know, you got the Dodgers, but you needed some competition out there. I know the Giants signed Verlander. I mean, I don't know how much he has left in the tank. The Padres are the Padres. The Padres might go into a tanking mode because they have a lot of payroll. Their owner died last year. And I think if their owner didn't die, I think they would have actually made an attempt to sign Juan Soto before the trade to the Yankees. So I think they would have given an extension. But I think they're looking to cut some money there. Francisco Tatis, they're looking to get rid of. Maybe Machado, maybe some of these pitchers, Dylan Cease, Michael King. I mean, there was a Cease rumor to the Mets. But I think that I think the Diamondbacks get better with Corbin Burns in their rotation. He's a West Coast guy too. He wants to play out West. So there you go. But, you know, looking at the Orioles, Rich, the Orioles have that core of the young kids and stuff, but they don't have that solid pitcher yet to get them over the hump, you know?
They had that young kid. I forgot his name. His name escapes me, but they have that young kid that's pretty good, the pitcher. His name escapes me.
A couple of young guys out there, but I don't think they have the lockdown guy like Corbin Burns was. I mean, to put Corbin Burns out there every fifth day, I mean, that's pretty good, right?
Does Adley Rutschman finally make that step and become a top 3 catcher in baseball?
I think Rushman's there already, and Gunnar Henderson might be the best player in baseball soon. Jordan Westberg, Colton Cowser. I mean, they're stocked, the Orioles. I guess that's what happens when you come in last every year. But you know, the ownership, I mean, they were sold, I guess. So I think these guys are going to start having to, you know, pay up to these guys, secure them, maybe give like what the the Guardians gave Jose Ramirez. They gave him that big contract, you know. I mean, he's not making, you think Jose Ramirez, probably a top 5, top 10 player in baseball, is not even making a fraction.
He's the best third baseman in baseball.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Not even making a fraction with Soto or Judge are making.
Yeah.
Ohtani, you know.
That's his fault. You know, he signed that contract last year. That was dumb.
Yeah.
But
yep. Definitely.
Whatever.
Definitely.
He's the best third baseman in baseball, hands down.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And you know what? He 30-30 last year. I think he stole 30 bases as well. But,
you know, a pretty good third base, though.
I think the Diamondbacks get, you know, if Corbin Carroll can come back and have a better season like his rookie season, I think the Diamondbacks will be going places. I know they lost Christian Walker to the Astros. I mean, every team loses some veterans along the way. So, but you know, there's the cream of the crop, the Dodgers. I mean, they're right now they're picked to pick 109 games. That's the betting line. 109. It's unthinkable. 109 games.
How much do you give Aaron Boone? Aaron Boone wants an extension. How much do you give him an extension? Do you put him on okay, we'll see how you do this year? Like, what do the Yankees do with Aaron Boone wanting an extension?
I think Boone gets locked up before opening day, Rich. I think that's what the Yankees do. I mean, they're vested in him. I'm just asking. Yeah, okay. I think that's what my opinion is. He gets signed before March 27th.
Yeah. I also think that there's something to be said about my manager, Carlos Mendoza. Initially, I'm like, a bench coach is coming to coach my team. I was a little pissed off about it, but then you watch these little moves that he makes. A bench coach is kind of like your eyes and ears of everything that goes on your squad. So it doesn't matter what team, whether you're a team in disarray, whether you're a team that's run well, you always have your eyes on everything that's going on in the clubhouse because you want to try and help the coach to make changes, or you got to be the eyes and ears when the coach isn't there. So I think you might going to see, like, Carlos Mendoza, I think he's a great coach. And I think it's the fact that he was a bench coach, I think for the, you know, the time that he was. I think you're going to be seeing that a lot. A lot of these bench coaches, like, you know, I think maybe they might be turning around and not being your Don Zimmers and being 112 and being a bench coach. I think a lot of these bench coaches are going to start to know more of their worth, I think, because of the fact that Carlos Mendoza basically went in there and took a little bit from everything and made his own, you know, philosophy up. And he took the Mets to the NL East championship last year. I mean, look, I say they're going to do it every year because I'm a fan, but I didn't think they would actually do it. As a matter of fact, I stopped watching them at the beginning of the season because they were terrible. So I think, again, back to coaching, having everything to do with getting a bunch of young men together and playing baseball. I think Carlos Mendoza gained a lot of knowledge from being a bench coach.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth, Rich. I think Don Zimmer was one of the best bench coaches ever. Clueless Joe, when he came over, Joe Torre, that was known as Clueless Joe. But I think having Don Zimmer on the bench with him was pretty good. Yankees bench coach is Brad Alsmith now. Alsmith managed a couple of years, so you need that guy on the bench that knows the game and stuff. Don Mattingly, a bench coach with the Blue Jays. So I think you need that guy on the bench, to just focus on the game, because the manager's got other stuff to do during the game and stuff like that. You need the bench coach. I think it's very important. And that Mendoza sat on the Yankees bench for many years, being the bench coach. I think he learned a lot. It's good that he, got the job, and he had a good first season. We've seen Mets managers go to Citi Field and fail in their first year. Mickey Callaway a couple of years ago and stuff, So, I think it was a good move for the Mets, and, enjoy Mendoza. Maybe he'll be Yankees manager one day. We see a lot of Yankees, Mets, Torre managed the Mets, so we see a lot of guys that manage both the Mets and the Yankees. Yogi Berra, happens a lot. So maybe Mendoza comes back to the Bronx in like 10 years.
I don't think right now, as a Mets fan, I've never been more content with my team. I've never been more okay, all right, we're good. Even last year, we're good. Even from the middle, I don't think I'm not going to run and say we still haven't done this. We still haven't got this position. We still don't got this. Signing Pete for me was huge, because the first base thing was going to be a problem, because I do not want to move Vientos to first base, because I think Vientos is going to be there for at least another 7-8 years. He's going to be our third base. We finally found a third baseman. Okay. So moving him to first and bringing up this kid Beatty, who I literally think just does not know how to play baseball on a major league level. I think he's going to be he's going to be a career minor leaguer, which is fine. Not taking anything away from him, but he's just not a major league baseball player. So I think that whole disruption of taking Pete out of the equation and making somebody else, because Pete's actually been playing a very good third baseman too. He's been a vacuum over there with the glove. So I think, by that being said, I think that signing Pete was a huge deal, just for that matter, because now, all right, Pete, you got your first base back, and Vientos doesn't have to go anywhere.
Yep, exactly. No, I agree, Rich. I agree. Still, like I said, pennants are not won on paper, and
not.
So let it play out, and it's going to be nice because baseball will be on this week. Friday, the exhibition games start. They'll be on TV locally, Yes Network and SNY and stuff. So we'll be able to see a little baseball while this foul weather sits outside. But Rich, we're going to get into March Madness now. One thing in New York that it's been revitalized after 40 years is the St. John's program, headed to win the Big East. They still have some games left, the big games, but the team is 21-4, 12-2 in the Big East. Big game against Creighton today, who, one of the good teams, but they did win last week at UConn, St. John's. So they're really showing a lot, but they lost a tough game to Villanova. But, this kid, R.J. Lewis Jr. is amazing. And I don't know if you watch any St. John's games, but Rick Pitino has this team playing.
I would have to assume Rick Pitino is probably on a mission. He's probably, he's like, I'm taking this school, I'm going to bring it back to relevance. Lou Carnesecca, the whole aura of St. John's. Listen, admittingly, I've kind of really just been in and out with college basketball, because of other stuff, but I have been keeping kind of an eye on St. John's. Didn't St. John's kind of, they had a good run last year, but when they played the big teams, it kind of just fell up short. Well, Patino's in his what year now? Patino's in his third year with them?
About second or third. But they only lost 4 games, Rich. They lost to Baylor by 1. Baylor's a 13th ranked team in the nation. Yeah. And they lost to Georgia by 3. Those 2 games were played in the Bahamas. Now, sometimes these preseason tournaments, the kids are going to the Bahamas. You really think about playing, you're leaving the cold weather in New York, you're going to the Bahamas. I have other things on my mind. And then they lost to Creighton by 1 point, and they played Creighton today, which is the big game, because if Creighton beats St. John's the 2 games, then they have the advantage going into the Big East tournament, because they'll have 2 wins over them. And then the Villanova 2-point loss. So 4 losses by a total of 7 points. That's not bad at all.
Do you think St. John's do you think St. John's has enough fire to go up against a who's a Auburn or like a Duke or North Carolina?
Well, that's the thing, Rich. They're on a collision course right now, where if they keep up, they win the Big East, they'll go to the Eastern regionals, and those games will be played in Newark at Prudential Center. And guess who they'll be playing? They'll probably be playing Duke if they win their first game in that tournament, because they'll probably be like a 4th seed. So it's a collision course right now. Can they beat Duke? That's a good question. But can they beat Creighton today? Creighton's got this tall guy, Ryan Kalkbrenner. The guy is a monster, and he beat, he single-handedly beat St. John's when they played a couple of weeks ago in Nebraska, in Omaha. They played the Garden today, and there's still tickets available. They haven't sold out yet, but the game's on at 3:00 on CBS or what I think. I don't know, one of these channels. I'll definitely be watching because you know, like to have these locals, you know, at least the local team come out, you know, at least make the Sweet 16, make things a little exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch, but you know, I think that St. John's program is definitely a direct effect of Pitino coming in there and having a chip on his shoulder. You know, he's coming off, like lawsuits and stuff that he used to get, like, you know, the Louisville players, hookers and shit. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, you know, I guess he's got something to prove. And if you're a guy like Rick Pitino, you don't have anything to prove, which is great about Pitino because he still feels he does. You know what I mean? Like, I guess there's certain guys that they just have it in them all the time. Like, if you look at you know, a guy like Calipari or a guy like these guys that have just been around basketball and have coached so many programs for so long, you know, Pitino's done it on the high level, you know, and he's coached these big, huge programs. Not to say that St. John's isn't a big program, but they're not the Duke, North Carolinas, and whoever else. But now for him to come down and say, you know what, it's like, all right, now let's go with the St. John's University, local Queens team. You know what I mean? They used to be relevant, you know, Chris Mullen, all these guys back in the day. So he's probably got a personal, you know, goal to say, I'm going to get these kids as far as I can go because this is going to be the last thing I'm going to do because I'm almost 100 years old. I'm starting to really look my age now. So, you know, the suits aren't really cleaning me up like they used to because he is looking a little haggard sometimes. He's still got the suit on. But yeah, I think
he's up there in age. He's up there in age. Also,
so I think it's a personal thing with him, though.
Also, no hookers at the Jesuit school that St. John's is, right? Although you don't know what walks around on Union Turnpike. So,
how crazy was that story though back in the day? I don't want to talk about it, but how crazy was that story back in the day with Louisville? How Pitino was having parties and getting hookers and bringing these kids to campus, and he's still just whatever. Who cares? I got the kids laid. Are we winning basketball games? So it's like. Whatever, it's crazy, man.
The boosters don't care, Rich. The money's coming in.
They don't. No, they don't. No. Boosters don't give a shit, man.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy. So
I want to ask
that's on the docket today if you want to watch something, everyone out there, because I know it's pretty dry now until March 27th, until the MLB season starts. So
I do want to get to one thing before we wrap it up here. We're almost going on 2 hours, but how should I pose this question? All right, I'll go right there. What do you think about the most polarizing, crazy trade in the history of the NBA? And I don't care what trade anybody could bring up. This trade that happened with Luka and AD and the rest of them is by far the biggest trade in the history of the NBA.
And the funny thing, Rich, is nobody saw it coming. Usually you see rumors and stuff like, okay, Durant's going to get traded or Kyrie's going to get traded. And we all knew that was going to happen. But who saw this coming? Nobody saw it coming.
But that leads me to believe, that's what I was going to ask you. That leads me to believe that it was shady. And that leads me to believe that two people knew about this trade. And it was the GM of the Mavericks and the GM of the Lakers. They're buddies. They had coffee 3 weeks prior, apparently. Listen, Eric, me and you know each other a long time. If me and you own professional sports teams, you think me and you aren't going to be sitting there eating dinner one night, just bullshitting, having a couple of drinks, saying, yo, dude, I'll give you so-and-so for this guy. This guy's a headache, bro. I don't like, he drinks too much. He's a party animal. It's like, he's got the other players. Like sometimes it's like, would you just take him off his hands? And Plank is just like, Luka? Yeah, I can handle Luka. Absolutely. I got LeBron on the team. He's like, I don't know, man. We'll see. They'll drink their coffee. And then 3 weeks later, they're having coffee and bullshitting and breaking each other's chops as friends. Now, Luka and AD. Now, I don't want to hear any NBA analyst or any armchair NBA fan tell me that that's an even trade, Luka for AD. AD is lazy. AD gets hurt all the time. Good player. I'm not saying he's not great. He's a top player, but he gets hurt all the time. He's lazy. He's 31, and he literally does nothing for that Dallas Mavericks team. On the opposite end of the spectrum, say what you want to say about Luka. He is the top 3 best player in the NBA right now. He's 25. They did not offer him the super max contract, so there's something going on there. It doesn't add up to me, dude. It just doesn't add up to me to a point where you gave us Anthony Davis, who, all right, he's going to get some boards and play defense, but nobody except for maybe Jokic and somebody are Luka. Luka's the best of the best in the NBA, and you traded him for an okay, declining, good defensive Anthony Davis. It's just very shady to me, dude.
Do you think Mark Cuban initiated the trade, or was it Nico who initiated the trade?
Now listen to this. Here's another conspiracy theory about this. I think that this guy Nico Harris, I think he's a baby, and I think that there is personal. I think that there's personal business going on there, because especially now, what I didn't like, and not too many people pointed this out. I don't know if you watched the press conference the next day when Nico Harrison and Jason Kidd were talking. Now, you know Jason Kidd. He played for and coached your basketball team. The guy was, listen, he's had his issues over the years, drunk driving, hitting his wife. Like he's not really that good of a guy, but he knows basketball. Did you see his face when Nico Harrison kind of said, I never really discussed this trade with Jay Kidd, but me and Jay Kidd are always on the same page and he knows what I'm thinking. So I figured I just went ahead and did it. Jason Kidd didn't, without saying or even moving his face and just twitching his eyes, basically looked into camera and says, after this conversation happens, I'm going to stab Nico Harrison in his chest for demanding me in front of the entire world. Wow. I think this is a baby move by a guy, Nico Harrison, who maybe Luka broke his chops a little bit. Maybe Luka was an asshole. Maybe he was, maybe he didn't like, maybe they had something going on. And he used his power to get a superstar out of there because the new owners want a casino/arena in Dallas. The people of Dallas said they don't want the casino. So where do they want to go? To LA. They want an LA team. I'm sorry, Las Vegas. They want to go to Las Vegas. They want to have a team in Las Vegas with a casino. And that's ultimately what they want to do. So you ever see the movie Major League? Why not tank? Why not get rid of the best player in the NBA and have the fans all pissed off and say, all right, fans are pissed. I'll show you guys. I'm just going to Vegas, and then just start over again. It just doesn't make sense to me. This guy, Nico Harrison, is in the middle of this, and he's a baby, and he used his power to get the best player in the NBA out of there, which is at the end of the day going to work out for Luka, because Luka's going to get Giannis next year, and he may win 5 championships with that team. Because as much as Luka's done up until this point, he's only 25 years old.
Yeah, not allowed, Rich. Only teams that play in Oakland are allowed to move to Las Vegas. Can't have a team from Dallas move to Las Vegas. I mean, you got the A's and the Raiders, and the hockey team was an expansion team, so they don't count. So
very true. I don't know, man. I just wanted to sound off on that a little bit. That doesn't sound like it doesn't sound shady at all to you. I mean, or you just look at it from a perspective of a dumb trade. Like, how do you look at that trade?
Yeah, it was shocking, Rich. I mean, still shocked about it. I guess Anthony Davis got hurt and Luka finally played. Yeah. It's made a glass, Anthony Davis. Yeah. I mean,
look, Luka scored what? Luka scored 15 and 13. He had boards. He had some assists. He's just gelling, I mean, ultimately, I can't wait for LeBron's probably. What's fishy too is LeBron James said back in 2023, and you can look it up, he says, my ultimate goal as an NBA player/businessman is to own an NBA basketball team in Las Vegas. That's what he said.
Yep.
And for him to say that and all this to happen, and I don't under any circumstances think that LeBron James did not know about this trade. That's the final thing I'm going to say about it. He said he was out with his family. I don't care if you want to, I'm not making jokes about it, but I guarantee they're sitting at the table, they're laughing. There's a hidden thing in his ear, and all of a sudden it says, it's done, sir. And LeBron just finishes his dinner so we could tell everybody who was out with dinner. He knew exactly what was going to happen. He wanted AD out of there. He wanted AD out of there probably last year when he sat for game 3 of the playoffs. But he's too much of a baby and not a leader enough to tell AD to get off his ass and stop at the playing injured bullshit. So he had to go a roundabout way and get rid of somebody who thinks that we're best friends, but went behind that person's back and told ownership, it's like, this guy's a baby. I can't have this guy on my team anymore. Then go out and have drinks with them, and all of a sudden, oh my God, I can't believe you're traded. I think LeBron James knew everything was going to happen with that trade, and I think he's just a bad guy. I don't know.
He was they were in New York too. They played the Knicks that night, the night of the trade.
I got the phone call. The first thing I did was call. No, you didn't. You knew, and you played it off.
But, I'm a big fan of playing daily fantasy basketball. And the worst thing, and I heard it so many times, is Anthony Davis has gone to the locker room. I mean, is the guy made of glass? Or maybe Rick Pitino set him up with some hookers in the locker room and then he comes back out of the locker room. But it's just crazy, Rich. This guy, he's been around a long time, Anthony Davis, but the guy just gets hurt so many times. It's crazy. And now, really Luka's finally coming back. Luka played 2 games for the Lakers before the All-Star game. Hey, the slam dunk contest last night, that guy, Matt McClung won again. Rich, did you see that? The guy won for the third straight time. Talk about three-peats. The Chiefs didn't, but this guy wins, and he's only played 5 NBA games in his career. He jumped over a car last night.
I turned that on literally for 5 minutes last night.
I can't get into that.
When I heard whoever was calling the dunk contest say, that is the greatest dunk I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, really? Yeah. Come on.
Actually,
no, it isn't.
When I think of the greatest dunk, you remember the Dr. J dunk, Rich? That was the original. Remember that? And then you had some great dunks, but jumping over cars, jumping over people, it's not great. Even, I give Spud Webb credit though, dunking at 5'4". Those were great dunks, right? Crazy, right?
I mean, the NBA has to do something. They just have to, because it's admittingly, and it's well known that players really aren't giving them 100%. If you just look at the standings right now, you know what I mean? Look at the teams that are really starting to play. Look at the teams that are on top, who kind of stayed there. You got your Bostons, you got your Knicks are playing well. You got OKC. They're all between like 36 and 44 wins. And then you got your teams like the Lakers at 32 and teams like that are kind of staying middle of the road. And then now is when the season starts, Like, how is Steph Curry going to sit there and literally look at Jimmy Butler and play with Jimmy Butler and look him in the face and take him seriously? So now they're going to start to play, I guess. But you know what, though? If that's going to be the case, just shorten the goddamn season to 30 games and just say, you know what, we'll just take it as a sprint, not a marathon. Don't give me this bullshit that we need 82 games. And I understand that they're never going to change it. And I understand that they're never going to change it because of the, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. But do it like college. Split the game in 20-minute halves and let them have to play. And you know what? Cut the games down to 60, because 60 games means a lot more than 82 when they really don't play.
I mean,
but I know it can't be done. It's just logistically not possible. I understand.
Yeah, the union will never allow it. But look at the Nets.
Yeah, not possible.
The Nets 2.5 games out of the play-in. I mean, how bad are the Nets right now? And then you look at the Westridge. You got OKC and Memphis 1 and 2. I mean, are those teams going to advance? We've seen OKC. I mean, Memphis, really? So you're right. Now's when the season starts. You got your Denvers. You got the Lakers now, the Clippers. Even like Minnesota is a good team. So now you're going to see. I mean, the Knicks. The Knicks are the third team in the East. Are they going to win? So now's when it starts. It always starts after the All-Star game, Rich. Now they get turned on. The teams, I think, they have the momentum to play now, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you look at teams like OKC, who has got the problem. OKC might have the best player in the league right now. I mean, the guy Shai Alexander is.
Yeah, the lot of teams have like 29, 30 games to go, Rich. So now's when they turn it on.
Yeah, and I just hate to say that, but that if you're an NBA fan and you're watching all season, and now it's like, all right, finally they're playing. Because if you're an NBA fan that watches all season, you're gonna then you really notice that they're playing harder now. And I don't know, I do like the game, but it's coming to a point where when you start watching it, now it's like just cut the games in half and make these guys play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nope, I agree.
I don't know. All right, anything else you want to get into?
No, I'm good. We did our 2 hours and stuff. We're a couple minutes short, couple seconds, but no, I'm glad we did this. It's a dead week. There's really not much sports on, but like I said, the St. John's game's on now and or 3:00. But next week we'll get into the spring training games and we'll take it off from there. So
yeah, all right, that sounds good. Listen, if anybody wants to get their weather reports out there, go to Edubbs, Eric Weisfeld's Facebook page. He's very, very good with that stuff, man. And he's spot on. He's also got some pretty funny videos on there, too.
Yeah.
If you want to argue with me about politics, go to my TikTok page, because that's where I do my political arguments.
One more thing, a PSA about the weather. You want to keep your cell phones charged, people, because you're going to see trees come down today. You're going to see telephone poles get down today. You might get some blackouts, but thankfully, we're able to get 2 hours in today before the blackouts happen. The wind's not going to start till like later today, but keep the phones charged because always good to have them charged in case of emergencies. So.
Isn't it amazing that I never really look at the time and we do our show and I look up and it's like literally always exactly 2 hours?
Crazy, right?
I don't know. Also, I don't even want.
Also, one thing, keep the flashlights handy too. You never know if you're going to do a flashlight in the dark.
All right. Yeah, you don't want to lose power.
And don't step on the pets.
Are you off tomorrow?
I am. Yes.
Good for you. President's Day gives you.
I'm gonna
politics does something good for you.
Yeah, I just wish it was in the. In Canada it's a holiday too tomorrow. It's called Family Fun Day. You can look it up. They got jealous that we had off on President's Day, so they have a family day where they sit around playing Monopoly, I guess.
Oh, wait, what? That's serious? Are you serious?
Holiday in Canada tomorrow. Look it up. That's your homework assignment, Rich.
Family fun day in Canada? Nothing fun in Canada right now. They're a little pissed at us right now, but whatever. Who cares? All righty. Well, great show, dude.
Great show, Murf. Yeah, excellent.
What are your plans this week? You busy this week?
Yeah, back to the grind at work and stuff, but all good.
All right. I'm about to get pretty busy myself, so I got a lot going on in the next couple of weeks, so I'm gonna not have as much free time as I used to.
I'd rather have a colonoscopy, Rich, than go back to work. But okay,
colonoscopies aren't that bad. I've had 3 of them.
I got one coming up in April, so yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. You know what I can tell you to do when you get your colonoscopy after you're done and you're in the recovery room? Notice how many people are in there and notice the amount of farts that are going on. And the nurses don't even care because it happens to them on a daily basis.
Yeah,
just men just sitting there playing fart music out of their ass, and they're just running around being, "Oh, are you okay?"
Well, I do the game. I do the game with the doctor. I do the countdown 10 to 0, and she says, "You'll never make it." 10, 9, 8, 7. That's it. I'm out.
That
does wonders. It does wonders, right?
Strong shit, man. Sometimes I wish I had it in real life. It's like, I don't want to deal with you anymore.
Yes, Michael Jackson, right? Yeah, exactly.
All right, my friend. Listen, enjoy the games, man.
Take care. Have a good week. Right. We'll speak.
Let's try and get one next weekend too. Let's try and do the once a week thing.
Yep, exactly. We'll try. Yep, definitely.
Listen, I know I did 2 hours by myself, but it wasn't as good as the Murf and Edubbs show. Yeah. The Murf and sometimes Edubbs show isn't good. The Murf and Edubbs show is fantastic.
God bless you. 2 hours by yourself. God.
Eric, I can talk.
Okie dokie, Murf.
All right, my friend.
Have a good one.
I'll talk to you later.
Okay, right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. I'm going to say goodbye to TikTok, too. Let's see. I'm going to say goodbye to TikTok, too. We talked a lot of sports today. I'm going to go TikTok live because I got a lot of political stuff I got to wrap up later. So this is all fun about sports. Later on, it's going to be how I feel about the political landscape of this crazy country. So join me later on, probably around 5 o'clock. Anybody wants to bullshit, come back to TikTok. Anybody wants to bullshit, come back to YouTube. And this sports show will be out very soon as a podcast on my YouTube channel, which is Keep Talking 365 at YouTube. And we also have a podcast on Spotify. So if you want to check us out, you don't want to see our ugly faces, go to Spotify. So, all right, everybody, thanks for joining us today. And this will be out in about an hour as a podcast, and we'll see you next week. All right, TikTok.